David,
David Langston.
yeah.
A bunch of
She's always had human resources for 6 years. 6 years.
It's not too late, man. It's not too late. How you doing, sir? All right. Hey, now look at blue. Yeah.
That's supposed to be encouraging.
Man, I like the blue. How you doing?
Sure.
Ladies and gentlemen, let me welcome you to the Shreveport-Caddo Parish Metropolitan Planning Commission meeting. As we begin, we customarily do an invocation and a pledge to the allegiance of the flag. If you would care to participate, if you'll stand and join us in the invocation, followed by the pledge of allegiance by Ms. Nobert. Dear Father, we thank you for this day and for this opportunity to gather. We thank you for allowing us to enjoy this thing we call freedom. We pray that you continue to guide us and be with us through the day. We pray especially for those persons who come with desires and wishes to play a role in improving this, our community that we live in. We pray for wisdom, knowledge, and understanding on the part of the board and all concerned. For it is in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. If you repeat after me, please. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. At this time, I'll make a few opening remarks before we go further down in our agenda for today. This public hearing, for purposes of today, if you wish to make public comments on an application, we have MPC comment slips at the speaker's stand next to the podium. For further notification purposes, it is very important that you fill out a slip and drop it in the box when you come forward to speak. Please state your full name, mailing address, and zip code before addressing the board. We will call each case on the agenda in order and hear first from the MPC staff case manager, if necessary, then the applicant, then those speaking in favor. 10 minutes are allocated for the principal spokesperson and 3 minutes for each additional speaker. We will then hear from those wishing to speak against an application. Again, 10 minutes will be allocated for the principal spokesperson and 3 minutes for each additional speaker. One representative of the application can then speak in rebuttal if desired. After hearing comments on each case, the board will then immediately deliberate and vote on that case before moving on to the next case on our agenda. Please note that when the board is deliberating, members of the public are not permitted to comment. Any member of the public may request a copy of the board's decision on a particular case by contacting our office at 318-673-6480 after 1 p.m. on tomorrow, or by accessing our website at shreveportcaddompc.com. For consent agenda items and other agenda items not requiring a public hearing, public comments can be made upon request by filling out an MPC comment slip. If comments are requested for a specific agenda item, the chairman will offer an opportunity for those comments prior to the commission taking action on the agenda item. All of the MPC board's zoning recommendations are submitted to either the city council or the parish commission for a final decision. Depending on the application, but depending on the location of the property that's in question. Please note that it is your responsibility to contact the appropriate governing body about their procedures as related to the matter you are concerned with. Copies of this document and the phone numbers to contact the governing bodies are available on the table next to the podium and in the entryway to this room. Now, as a courtesy, please remember to turn off all cell phones while the MPC board is in session. The commission values your testimony and appreciates your compliance with these guidelines. Before we attempt to deal with any further business, I would like to call on our executive director, Mr. Alan Clark, to make some introductions to you and to board members, if you would, Mr. Clark.
Thank you so much, Mr. Andrews. The city of Shreveport, just a little background information. Presently, the Shreveport County Metropolitan Planning Commission consists of the combination of the city of Shreveport and a small area up to 5 miles beyond the city limits of Shreveport into Caddo Parish. And by it being that way, we have board members that are appointed from both the city of Shreveport and the parish of Caddo. We had 3 board members that terms ended with the city of Shreveport as of May 26th. And the city of Shreveport decided to replace those 3 board members with 3 new board members. And by looking out at the crowd, it must show that these new board members truly attract the crowd. We haven't had this many people in quite some time, so we're just so very happy that we have active citizen participation and citizen engagement. But I would truly like to introduce those new board members to you. The board members are in the horseshoe, Ms. Rachel Jackson. She raised her hand very quietly. And Mr. Bill Robertson. They are our new board members. And in the audience, waiting on confirmation, is Mr. Harold Sater. I saw him out there. So we have these 3 new board members that will be participating in making these important decisions and recommendations to the city council for rezoning, special use permits, subdivision, etc. And we're very delighted to have them. They might be a little nervous. It happened so quick. We haven't had time to go through orientation or anything that shares with you the insight that they have. They're sitting up here ready to go and ready to participate. And we are so happy to have them, Mr. Andrews, and we welcome all 3 of them. We will also have a 4th board member from the parish of Caddo, and he is out of town. He had some personal business that he had to participate in, but he should be here on the next board meeting. Thank you, sir.
All right, your board members, let's give our new board members a round of applause and a welcome. All right, we will be sure and make that a part of your paycheck as we go down the road. All right.
After we take the taxes out.
After taxes, all right, very good. At this particular time, we'll call for approval of minutes from the May 5th, 2021 meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Joseph, second by
Newbert.
Ms. Newbert. All in favor, please vote yes. Board members, at this time, can I get a show of hands in favor? All right, motion carries. Thank you very much. At this particular time, we'll move into our public hearing section. Case number 21-1-CAP, closure and abandonment. Caddo Parish Public Works. Do we have someone here from Public Works?
Chairman Andrews and commission members, Jimmy Whittington, Caddo Parish Public Works, 505 Travis, Suite 820, Shreveport 71101. We received this request from the person that owns all of the adjoining land to this portion of the Redrick right-of-way. We did our due diligence on it, and we don't have any opposition to this closure and abandonment.
All right, sir. Any questions for Mr. Whittington from board members? All right, Mr. Jimmy, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is there anyone present who'd care to speak in favor of this request? Anyone else present who'd care to speak in favor of this request? Is there anyone present who'd care to speak in opposition to this abandonment and closure? Anyone present to speak in opposition to this abandonment and closure? Hearing none, I'll call for a motion.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Joseph, second by Mr. Elverson. All those in favor, please vote yes.
I think we just have just a little bit late
There we go.
in action.
All
for
right,
future votes,
motion
sir.
carries. Thank you very much. This particular time, we'll move to case number 21-2-AXM, annexation. The applicant is City of Shreveport, Theodore John and Maria Dinos Casson. Is someone present to speak? All right, sir.
Mr. Andrews?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Robertson's vote did not cast. I just want to make sure
He's
he's
getting
working.
a
He's
brief
good, okay,
orientation
okay.
right now.
I just want to make sure.
Thank you.
Uh-huh,
That's why I put him next to Mr. Joseph.
gotcha, okay.
Good
Yes, sir.
afternoon. Travis Sturdivant with Rayleigh and Associates, 4913 Shed Road, Bossier City, 71111. Here representing Mr. Caston on this annexation case. Would be happy to answer any questions if you have any.
All right, board members, any questions for this gentleman? Can you tell us a little bit about what you're working on, sir, just for the benefit?
Yes, sir. Mr. Caston owns a lot in Long Lake subdivision. He has bought about 1.5 acres behind him that happened to be out in the parish. He is wanting to, in the future, we'll be back before y'all. He is wanting to combine that with his existing subdivision lot to give him a larger backyard to enjoy the recreation of. And what he is wanting to do is take that out of the parish and into the city, make it a part of the Long Lake subdivision, which will have it fall under their covenants and restrictions. That way it won't be out there with lesser requirements under it. That way it'll still have the same requirements as the existing subdivision does.
Question, when you say out in the parish, it makes it sound like it's a long ways away from the city limit. Can you tell us a little bit about how close it is?
The western line of the city limits is the eastern boundary line of this tract of land. It is contiguous and adjacent to the city limits.
All right, that helps us a little bit there.
Yes, sir.
Board members, do any of you have any questions relative to this particular application?
I have one for the
Yes,
staff.
ma'am. Ms.
for the
Newbert,
staff.
please.
Is it time for the staff for me to question the?
Please, yes.
On the notification, it says the MPC did not receive any comments from any parish parties in opposition to the proposed annexation. Has anything occurred since this document was, have you gotten anything since?
You're asking us
Yes, I'm
to
asking the
document
staff.
that there was no opposition? I could not understand you, I'm sorry.
The notification on the documentation indicates that there was no opposition for this proposal. Has anything come in since this document went out?
Nothing has come in opposition,
Okay.
plus we have support from the city council person in that district.
Yeah, that was going to
As
be my
he's
other question.
consistently supported limited annexation when property is attached to Lakeside, on Lakeside.
Okay, thank you.
All right, any more questions? All right, Mr. President, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else present who care to speak in favor of this request? Anyone else present who care to speak in favor? Is there anyone present who care to speak in opposition to this request? Do we have any opposition to this request? All right, hearing none, board members, any further discussion?
I do. One more question.
Yes.
Did this require a participation meeting?
No.
No,
it did
okay.
not.
All right.
Just for the record, this was not a massive annexation. This was just this property owner wanting to add the additional property that he purchased to his existing property. Part of it was in the city limits. The other part was outside the city limits. And he just wanted to bring it in to the city limits so that it would fall under the neighborhood covenants and law and rules that are governing that particular subdivision. And those were some of the positive factors that were used in making this recommendation. And it would cost the city of Shreveport no additional funds in infrastructure, police protection, fire protection, or any other services that are associated with the city.
Thank you, Mr.
And that was the only reason that we recommended it.
All right, sir. Okay. At this particular time, we'll call for a motion on the part of the board.
Given the
Motion to
clarification from Mr. Clark, I'd move to
sorry.
approve.
Motion by Mr. Joseph,
Second.
second by Mr. Morton. All those in favor, please vote yes. Oppositions, vote no. All right, motion carries. Thank you so much, members. This particular time, we'll move to case number 21-13-P, Small Plan Unit Development and Site Plan. At this particular time, we'll invite ABC Skateboarders LLC representative to come forward, please.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Elizabeth. I'm standing in for ABC Skateboarders. That's 7300 block, Flournoy Lucas Road, Shreveport, 71129. Is it free to speak? Okay. Our plan is to park our trucks here. We're not going to be doing any freight moving in and out. We're going to have a residence in the back of our property. We're really just using it for a place to store them. Our guys will come in the morning, they'll pick them up, they'll drive. I'm not going to say they're going to come back every day, but they'll come back to park them and then leave in their vehicles. We do plan on having a shop out there because we do all our own work on our vehicles, trucks or vehicle cars, whatever we have to work on. And in the future, hopefully the near future, we'll have a house in the back of the property. I did speak with all the residents around the property, where the trailers are going to be parked on the side where Mr. Doug Horn lives. I spoke with him this morning as well. They were just more concerned if we were hauling chemical material, but all we haul is lumber and sheetrock and stuff like that. But everybody in the area kind of approved it. I spoke with people down the street when we were, clearing some stuff out of there, and everybody was pretty good with what we had in store and in mind. So I feel like everybody in the area is good with it. So, yep.
All right, at this time, board members, do any of you have any questions for this young lady? This applicant? All right, hearing none, thank you, ma'am.
All right, thank you.
Is there anyone else present who would like to speak in favor of this particular application? Anyone else present who care to speak in favor of this application? All right, seeing none, is there anyone present who care to speak in opposition to this application? If you would, state your name and mailing address, please.
My name's Carolyn Price. I live at 7390 Winderweedle Road, Shreveport, Louisiana, 71129. Thank you to all the members for hearing us today. As owners of the property located directly beside the property being considered for rezoning, ABC Skateboarders, we do appear in person and also present written comments and complaints at this public hearing. First of all, some of our neighbors did not get the letter of notification, so we reached out to them because they were family, and they're present with us today at the hearing. Our water supply in the whole area is from wells because we live outside the city limits. They're drilled down into the aquifer, so anything surface, waters, chemicals, gasolines, diesels, anything would leach down into the aquifer and would affect our water supplies. Many of us raise vegetables, and we have pets, and we have livestock, and I organically grow my garden for our families, and I also have a friend that has cancer, and she's been really dependent upon these produce. The contamination of the soil or water would be detrimental to that. The rainwater and the runoff, the drainage is already a problem in our area because of previous constructions that we weren't able to complain against. We also have, the runoff goes into creeks and ditches. We don't have a drainage system because we're outside the city limits, we're not in the city. We don't have city water or sewer. We all have mostly sewage treatment plants. The northeast area of Windoweedle, which is down a hill, the grade of the land goes down, and that's where my family lives, already has flooding when we have heavy rainfalls. Therefore, any toxic runoff would be hazardous to them and us, our neighbors' water supply, their pets, our livestock, and wildlife. We have a lot of deer and wildlife in the area. The rezoning would be a disadvantage for us to try to sell any properties in the future as residential and agricultural. We own, personally, my husband and I own 3 acres, and we may want to sell something at some point in time. Being outside the city limits, many times safety and environmental guidelines are not adhered to. I just know this because of hearsay, and I've heard others talk about it. So any type of spills or anything may not be regulated. The additional traffic to our very narrow rural Windoweedle Road would be hazardous because it's very narrow. We can barely get 2 cars passing on it. Also, it would do damage to the asphalt, and because we're parish, we don't get a whole lot of maintenance in that area. Also, Floyd Lucas is a rural road that is in the parish, and it would be damaged by the heavy traffic of the trucks. We have children that live and play in this area. They ride their bikes on the road. Mostly it's just our neighbors that go through this Windoweedle section. So that would be a safety hazard for them. We don't want our properties to ever be annexed to the city limits for water or sewer. We're very happy and content with our current situations, and we also don't want to have increased taxes. Our grandparents and parents, mostly of us that are represented today, have bought this area over 60 years ago to raise our families and to farm and to have animals, and we want to be able to pass that on to them, to our descendants and future generations as residential agricultural. We don't see any positive thing about this. And if it did get rezoned or was able to be subdivided into, which this is a 4-acre plot that they're trying to change, it could very possibly be subdivided into a trailer park or subdivision, and then that would be just compound all the problems that I've already mentioned before, because they would have to have water and sewer things done. There may be something I've missed, but I'm going to go ahead and refer to some of my other family members and neighbors that would like to speak. But I'm hoping that you'll consider our objections. Thank you.
All right, before you leave, Ms. Price, board members, do any of you have questions for Ms. Price?
I do.
Yes, Ms. Newbert?
Can we put up 2113P, please? Okay, where's your home located in relation, where's your
Ours?
home located in relation to this?
To the right side, I
Can you
have.
point, can you point on that?
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay, hon.
Do you need the bigger map at all?
I own this property and this property.
Okay. And that includes all the rest of your family?
No.
Okay.
I have other family. Where are you, Peggy? Down here? My sister owns this. My sister-in-law owns this one.
Okay.
And then I have neighbors that owned all this property here for the last 60 or 70 years. And they still live there and raise horses.
Okay, thank you.
All right, any more questions? Yes, sir, Mr. Curtis?
You referenced potential water supply issues, and that piqued my interest. Do you have any evidence of any potential soil or water contamination as a consequence of this planned unit that's being proposed here today?
Do I have any
Any evidence?
evidence
Yes,
of
ma'am.
it?
Anything to point us to?
I don't have any evidence, except they've cleared all the trees already, and so if you were to drive out there, you would see it's like a lake right now. So I would just assume, I'm just going off of my own idea about spillage, leakage, trucks, diesel, oil.
Okay.
And if there's a workshop, that even more so compounds the problem.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right, any other questions for Ms. Price? Board members? Thank you, ma'am. Is there anyone else present who'd care to speak in opposition to this request?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir. Would you be so kind as to take your hat off for us?
My hair,
All right,
okay.
very good. Thank you.
Thank you. You should remove your hat when you walk in. I should have known that.
That's
Army
quite
days.
all right.
But
I'm
thank you
sorry.
for your service, man.
Thank you. I totally agree with my wife. Is that a surprise?
If you'll give us your name and address for the
All
record.
right. My name is Claude Price, 7390 Winder Wheel Road, Shreveport, Louisiana, 71129. I'm a big, we both hunt, but we feed our deer. We don't hunt them. We have a lease in Homer. We feed the birds and we feed the rabbits. We just enjoy the wildlife and we enjoy the country life. We've been there for 40 years. We've always paid our taxes on time, never delinquent. The traffic would be, our road is, that's why they call it Winder Wheel Road. It's a road. You can barely get two cars in at the same time. I pick up my own trash on our street to keep it clean. I've got pictures to show you as evidence. We take our trash to the parish dump. We don't have trash pickup. We have fire protection. But I've invested so much in this property, 2 sewage treatment plants and 2 water plants, 2 wells. That's well over $20,000 over the years. This past winter, I lost one of my wells because it froze up. The pump went out, so I have to replace that at another I have to have it re-drilled for another $6,800. So I am, along with my neighbors and relatives, we object to this proposal. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Before you leave the mic, any questions for Mr. Price?
Price, yes.
All right, so thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Is there anyone else present who care to speak in opposition to this request?
Good afternoon, Commission. My name is Melinda Scheck-Snyder. My address is 7397 Winder Wheel Road, 711 Shreveport, Louisiana, 71129. I own several properties in that area. The 7397 Winder Wheel is encompassing all of this side right here. That also adjoins some property that I own on Flournoy Lucas Road at 7186 Flournoy Lucas Road. The only thing that separates that property and my other property is this 1 acre that's right here. But all of this property in this area was homesteaded and has been owned by the same families for years and years and years. And we consider ourselves, even though we are not blood, we are family. We stand for each other. We take care of each other. We're there for each other. As part of why I'm here today is because of the closeness that is bound between us and for those forefathers who came before us, as I'm standing on what I believe they would want us to do. And as a property owner that has children who plans to pass this property down to my children, I'm thinking about their future also. We raise horses, and that's a main part of our livelihood. My husband and I, my husband's not able to be here today because he works a lot out of town. I'm gonna put my glasses on for my notes. My objection is to any zoning change because we are agricultural. I do not want it changed from rural agriculture. I've stood on this before for something else for the same area. That's my biggest thing here today is we do want to remain rural agriculture because you don't know, and like it's been stated, there is nobody governing. I can promise you there's nobody that governs Flournoy Lucas Road on our end of the parish. Nobody. You could drive out there and look. It's pretty bad. So we want it to remain as it is, if anything cleaned up, but y'all aren't over the cleaning up part of it. I understand that. But I thank you for your time today. And if you have any questions, I'll entertain those now.
All right, board members, any questions for Ms. Shakespeare? Any questions? All right, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else present who care to speak in opposition?
May I ask you?
Mr. Price, you had your shot.
Oh, come on,
We've
man.
got some more behind you we got some more behind you want to talk.
Hello, my name is Peggy Poole Williams. I live at 7307 and I own 7305 Winter Wheatle Road. I live in the curve of Winter Wheatle at the, I don't know the direction actually, but it does like this, and I live there at the bottom. So I have a video. You asked about water runoff and contamination. I have a 9-minute video if you'd like to see. I don't know how to do it, but it shows the water that is coming from up the street, through the woods, down to me.
Ms. Williams, at this short notice, if we
Well,
had known, we would have planned for you.
I
I'm not
appreciate
sure if we have
that.
any capabilities to do that now.
Yes, sir. The thing is, I didn't get a letter because I'm not next to the property. But what's going on up there affects me. That's why I'm here. Plus the noise, parking trucks, men coming in and out, or women. I worked at a trucking place, I know. It's a lot of noise. It's a lot of washing trucks, a lot of stuff coming off of them. I don't mean to get upset, but I really don't want to see this pass. If I could send a video to someone, how would I do that?
We'll get you to talk to one of our staff members before you leave today, and we'll be able to
Okay.
do that.
I appreciate it.
Thank you, ma'am.
All right, is that
Before you
it?
leave the podium, any questions for Ms. Williams? Did I say that right?
I do.
Yes, Ms. Newby?
Can you show me on the map where you live, please?
I live,
Or point to it on,
Oh, okay.
on the screen.
Oh, is there?
He'll help you there.
I live right here.
Okay,
On this property here is
Okay.
me. The runoff, there's already a business here on Winter Wheatle
okay.
that was rezoned without anyone knowing in this area. And it causes a lot of runoff too. But that's me. I get water from here and I get tons of it from here. The culverts, you can't even see them.
So your
The water
load,
swirls.
your property's the load?
Yeah, well, it's been low for,
Okay.
since 1950. But since 2013, it's got worse. And it's getting worse and it's getting worse. It goes under my house. That's where I live. And this up here, this right here, will affect me. I have animals, I have farm animals, and I have gardens. My mother passed away, and that's my house, where I lived and grew up.
All right, Ms. Peggy, any more questions from Ms. Peggy? Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else present who care to speak in opposition?
My name's Jerry Williams. I'm Peggy's husband, naturally. And on this water issue runoff
If you'll
stuff,
just tell us your name and address, please.
Jerry Williams, 7307 and 7305 Window I own both properties.
All right, sir.
Okay, and it's in the curb, like she said. And in this deal, I do know a lot about this. I was the O&M manager for the city of Shreveport for 33 years. You got pictures out here of me sitting on these things. So I do have a little insight in this. This water comes down already so bad, so hard, that it goes down there, and the water runs into the creek we got behind our house. Well, this creek also takes in 7th Street, Florida Lucas, everything back that way, everything off of Florida Lucas comes down, and this water runs into Gilmore Bayou, which runs into Wallace Lake. If you follow it out, it runs straight into Wallace Lake, which is a federal waterway. So if you put any kind of contaminants in there, and I know this from experience, you get fined, you go to jail. Health department comes out there, and you got to clean all this up. Not just where your little house is at, but all the property. You're responsible. I was the guy that used to have to go out there and tell these people with the health department. So this is, you got sewer manholes built beside these creeks, back down through the woods behind us, back in there. We got water now, it gets almost up to the top of these sewer manholes, which the city of Shreveport right now is fighting with sewer every day. I know this because I was on the program where we subbed it out. So you don't want no more water runoff than you got already. And right now it's bad. You just can't supply no more. And on the trucking part of the thing, I know this too, because I used to have to go pull samples, have my men go pull samples at USA Trucking. They had a holding tank where all their water went into this holding tank. It had to be treated, make sure it didn't have no chemicals in it, and before it could run off into the creeks. And the health department was there every week. We used to take the samples down here to our lab out there on the Amos plant lab. We used to take the samples to. And they'd also required us, USA used to pay for this, we'd take them down here to the independent lab down here off of, can't remember the name of the street, it's right over here though. There's an independent lab there. We used to take them there and drop them off too. So they'd have 2 different checks on all this stuff. That's how bad the health department was on truck places. And anybody that's been around 18-wheeler, any of their life, I can take you out there to Greenwood Road and show you right now. They got, not 18-wheelers, but got diesels. There's trash, there's oil, there's grease. We constantly clean it up. And if I'm about out of time, I guess I better stop.
Yes.
Okay.
Before you leave the mic.
Okay.
Any questions from Mr. Williams, board members?
Anybody?
Thank you very much, sir.
Okay.
Is there anyone else who care to speak in opposition to this request?
Good afternoon. Thank y'all for hearing us. I'm Pamela Poole. I live at 7280 Windoweedle Road, 71129. I just want to voice my concern about our property values. What will happen in the future if we did need to, because you don't know what's going to happen. Wonder if they increase more trucks, more stuff. How would we sell our property when they find out, oh, you've got a trucking place right here, you know? What will happen then? You know, how would we be able to
sell our property if we needed to, because I'm older now, and so that's what my concern is about that.
All
And
right, Ms.
that's,
Poole. Any questions for Ms. Poole?
Can you also show me where you live?
yes, I live, let's see, I live here, right here. This property right here. Right there.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, it's hard to do that. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Is there anyone else? All right. At this particular time, we are up to rebuttals on our agenda, Mr. Price. All right, the applicant now has the opportunity, ma'am, to come back and make any kind of comments you'd care to make relative to what you've heard to this point.
Okay, everybody.
And you want to talk to us, okay?
Yes. We're not coming in here to bring pollution and to bring problems and to make anybody's home not feel like home. We are new to the area. I thought, we kind of went around and talked to everybody, and I didn't really get the idea that nobody was, well, they were on that level of not wanting that to happen. As far as the oil and the diesel, I mean, we have a train track across the street. We have a big trucking company on Winder Whittle Road. We have 3 trucks and 4 trailers, and the only thing we're going to be doing is parking them. So they're going to come in and pick them up in the morning and go for the day, maybe 2 or 3 days, depending on the load, and come back and park them and then go home. We're not going to be running a trucking company out of this property. The only thing we were doing was trying to get our trucks from a place that we're parking them now to where we're going to be living. So we're not trying to increase and make things complicated. We're just trying to make things work for everybody around us and for us as well. We bought the property because it was big enough with the idea that we could have our vehicles there, I guess for security as well as having a site where it was big enough for us to park them at. So, we're going to put in drainage. We're not going to cause water problems all over the area. We're going to make sure everything is right and clean and neat, because I take pride in where I live, and we're not, the site is big enough. If you look at the area, our trucks are over, which we talked to Mr. Horn, and that's kind of where we're parking the trucks. That whole area is going to have concrete and drainage and fencing, and everything is going to be covered. We left a buffer. The whole area has got 35 to 50, actually 50 foot of buffer around it, so you're not going to see a big eyesore of trucks. It's not going to be loud. We're not going to cause disturbance. We're not going to, I don't feel like we're going to make a threat as far as the community and them and their property. We're actually going to make an addition and make a nice addition to the area, because that was what our plan was. We want to have a residence there. We don't want trash everywhere, or diesel or oil or anything like that. That's not our plan. Our plan is to have a successful site, have a place where he can put his trucks and be able to work a regular garage. We see a garage on there, like, it's not going to be a big diesel garage. It's just like a home garage like everybody has, that they work on their trucks and their cars and their lawnmowers even. Just something where we can go home and save money, as well as going to shops. You can do it yourself, because we do all our stuff ourselves. I just don't want anybody thinking we're coming in trying to barge in and cause a problem in the community. We didn't want that in the community. We wanted to make an addition to the community. So I just wanted everybody to know that our plan wasn't to sabotage. And as far as Winder Whittle Road goes, the only place our trucks are going to come in and out of is going to be from Burt Coons onto Flournoy Lucas and into the driveway. We do not go on Winder Whittle Road. There is ABF, a big trucking company on Winder Whittle Road, and that stays over there. But we are only going to go on Flournoy Lucas. We're not even going to go down and turn around into the driveway, out of the driveway, back on Burt Coons. There won't be no driving. We have kids too. I've got small kids. We're not going to be speeding through the area, and there's only 3 guys that drive for us. Everybody's family. It's not an outside company. Everybody knows the rules. Everybody's respectful, and we're just trying to make everything fit so we can fit in. That way this all goes well. So I just wanted everybody to know that.
Well, before you take your seat, I'd love for staff to make a couple of comments to some things that we heard. One, the definition of a neighborhood participation plan maybe, or meeting.
Yeah.
Two, what other developments could be done on this property per chance that the applicant decides to use that property for something else under this particular designation.
I think the important thing, Mr. Andrews, is that this is a PUD. And that specifies what the use will be on the property. We did not know of the challenges, the implied challenges, or proposed, feared challenges of drainage prior to the hearing. We did not get, to my understanding, any comments from any of the neighbors in the area. Or we would have checked with Caddo Parish Public Works to get some verification on what are the plans for Florida Lucas Road or Windowita, or the actual drainage. Will this impact the drainage, or would they approve, review the drainage and the concreting of the particular yard in order to ensure drainage is not impacted? I won't be here tomorrow, but I've asked Stephen to reach out to Ken Ward in Caddo Parish Public Works to ask those questions and find out all of the information that addresses the citizens' concerns. It might be to your advantage to defer and continue this for a month to allow us to get that information. I'm apologetic. When it was presented to me, it was appearing that there were no problems associated with it, and there were no concerns about what was about to happen, or we would have approached this totally differently. But if the board is so inclined to defer and continue this, we will find all that information out and bring it back to you at next month's meeting.
Ma'am, so that you'll understand what our executive director just said.
Yes.
If you're amicable to having this deferred and continued until such time that more information is put together, not only for your benefit, but for your neighbors, potential neighbors' benefits as well.
Yep.
If you be amicable to allowing the board to do that, then we would take that issue on right now.
Yeah, that would be a good idea, and that, because like I said, I don't want to cause any problems. So if we can figure out what we need to do about the drainage, because I did see a lot of water out there myself. So if we can figure that out, I can see what we can do on our end as well. That way we can get it taken care of.
I have
Yes.
some questions for her.
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Newbert?
Yeah.
Hours, what are your proposed hours of operation?
Oh, they come in around 5 in the morning, and they pick the trucks up and leave. And actually, it really depends. The loads are all different. Sometimes they don't come back at night. Like his dad, Robert Jackson's dad, drives for him. Sometimes he doesn't come back for a week. But usually between 5 a.m. and 8 a.m., and then they don't come back until maybe 7 or 8 at night. So they're gone all day. It's just going to be a parking, leave. That's it.
This is a question for the staff. Just
Okay.
bear with me just a second. Mr. Clark, does this SPUD, will it indicate hours of operation? Will there be some type of parameter on that?
If you're so inclined, you can restrict the hours of operation. We didn't. From what I understand, and we may be totally incorrect in our assumptions, was that this was just going to be the parking of 3 to 4 tractor trailers. And in the event that there was a need to make some minor auto repair to these vehicles, they were going to be able to make those on site. It was not my understanding that they were going to be up all night idling diesel engines and the like.
Yeah, that would be my concern as someone that lived in that area, that there would be ratcheting and impacts. They get noisy.
Yeah.
Maintenance gets noisy.
But as we review, if everybody's so inclined, Mrs. Newbert,
I'm hearing you.
As we review this, we can look closer at all of the concerns that have been expressed today. we were totally unaware. We got no negative information from Caddo Parish Public Works, any of the concerns that have been expressed. So if you're so inclined, we can find all of that out to provide it to you at next month's meeting, and the applicant is agreeable with that.
And I have one more question for the staff. This is a road, not necessarily a Louisiana highway, but is a traffic study warranted in this?
It was, based on what they're saying, they have 4 vehicles added to the normal flow of traffic.
Okay.
We don't feel that merits or warrants a traffic impact study being conducted, because that's all that's gonna happen. If they were gonna open up a tractor trailer repair business or something massive, we would think that a traffic impact study would be necessary. But based on what they're proposing, and they're governed under the SPUD, the PUD, we feel that we have the legal authority to regulate them to, if they are in violation of anything, the zoning administrator and staff will be able to address those things.
All right, before we go any further, I got hands up, and what I would love, I see Mr. Robinson, and I see Mr. Morton, and then I see Ms. Jackson. But what I would love, I keep hearing the executive director says, please give us some time to do some research on this before we dig any deeper into where we are, so that it'll be clearer, not only for the applicant, but for the neighbors as well when we come back to it. Now, if you got a burning desire, please, we're gonna listen to you. Okay, Mr. Robinson.
Mr. Chairman, I told myself that at my first meeting I wasn't going to speak, so I'm stepping out here, and I apologize, but I believe it's important to listen more than to talk. But I do have a couple of questions. First is housekeeping. Is it permissible to tell the speakers they can take their mask off?
That is permissible.
I'm having a little difficulty hearing the speakers.
Yeah, it is, permissible. It's their choice when they're speaking.
If you so choose, I would prefer that you remove your mask.
Sure, is that better?
Thank you. I got a little hearing loss. So,
okay.
The staff advised the commissioners that the business would be for its own trucks and trailers and not for non-company vehicles. Is that true?
That's true.
Okay. And also, I understand one of the requirements of the planned unit development was that you provide a 50-foot buffer of trees around the property.
Yes.
But I also heard today that the property has already been cleared. So can you clarify that?
Yeah, it's been cleared in the center, but we measured around the whole property. So everything's measured out.
That sounds great. I
Yes.
wonder if staff can confirm that between now and when we take this up again.
We will ask the zoning administrator to send an inspector out to verify that. I believe that it was revealed to me that our pictures where the sign is in your packet is not the actual site where the development is proposed to occur. It is in a very wooded area with woods presently in front of the property, and not the cleared off area that was referred to earlier by some of the neighbors.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Clark. One last item. For the lady who had the video, this matter, if it is contested beyond the commission, will be taken up by the parish, and you can provide that video to Mr. Epperson if you think that would help your case. But I'm content to let the applicant and the staff clarify some of these issues between now and when we make a decision.
Mr. Morton.
Yes, you mentioned residents. Will someone actually be living on this property?
Yes, yeah, Mr. Jackson.
Okay. The other thing you mentioned, that you're only hauling lumber and drywall.
Yes, sir.
Is there any guarantee that any of that will change?
No, they're flatbed truck drivers, and they have contracts with Georgia Pacific, Weinhauser, places like that, so everything's set.
Okay. Let's see. Do you ever foresee ever hauling and storing chemical items there?
No, sir. No, sir.
Okay, that was one of my questions as far as the lumber and everything, what you were saying you were hauling. But my next question is, you say you have 3 trucks and 4 trailers?
Yes, ma'am.
So do you foresee in the future getting more trucks, more trailers?
Not in the near future. They said that if we set it up for the 3, but if down the road we wanted to get another one, which there probably would be maybe one down the road to go with the 4th trailer, then they would have to go before y'all and you know.
At this point, I'll entertain a motion.
I have one more, I promise I'm gonna stop.
All right.
Did this require a neighborhood participation meeting?
That's what we
We
talked
did
about.
not do a neighborhood participation meeting for this.
Okay, okay.
It was just a RA to RA PUD. There was no increased zoning, and it's specifically to the use that they'd applied for.
Thank you, Mr. Andrews.
All right. Any more questions?
Motion to defer.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Joseph, second by Ms. Newby to defer. All those in defer and continue, please vote yes. Oppositions, no. All right, the
That's it.
motion carries. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Your vote is not registered, it appears, Mr. Edmonds.
Well, it disappeared before my finger hit the screen. But my vote is yes, for the record.
So I will ask the staff to record your vote as yes.
I don't want to have to write a letter, so please.
It's open to vote again. It's right.
Please put me in. How about that? Let's do it like that. All right. Thank you very much. At this particular time.
I was just waving goodbye.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Price. Before the next person speaks, if you guys choose to leave, we'll give you a chance to do that. I believe we're at case, item number 9, case number 21-39-ZC, a zoning request, royalty pre-owned cars. Am I correct?
Correct.
Please state your name and address for the record, please, ma'am.
Shannon Corporal, 1842 Earl Street, Shreveport, Louisiana.
Yes, ma'am.
So I'm trying to do a rezoning from C2 to C3 for a car lot. It's about 2 lots there currently. We had the property for about 5 years now. It used to be a building on the property. We demolished it, and we're just trying to revitalize the neighborhood and put something there to stop people from dumping or to bring something better to the neighborhood.
All right. For the benefit of those of us who've not read the entire description, how many vehicles, how much space do you think you'll be needing?
Currently, we're planning on having maybe 10 vehicles at a time because there's only 2 lots and there's already a structure already there. I have a picture showing how it used to look, if I can share that.
Yes, ma'am.
This is how the property used to look. It used to be a main dumping site. We purchased the property from the city. It used to be an illegal church. People was dumping boats, cars, furniture, all kind of stuff there. So we this year we had the building demolished. And now there's only one structure there, but people are still dumping at that location. And the last year or two, we've been spending anywhere from $1,300 to $2,400 just moving stuff that's not even ours per month. We're spending at least $200 per month because people is always dumping. So we have to put something at this location. We already had a community meeting on May the 11th. And this is how the property currently looks as of right now. So we try to keep it clean because it was a drug spot. Like I said, they're dumping. We have to put something there or we about to square one again. So that's why I'm petitioning to have it changed to C3.
All right. Any questions from board members? Then I suppose the question, yes, ma'am?
I
Ms.
think I
Newman?
would like Mr. Clark to maybe talk just a little bit about the reason, the impact of the zoning, because I see that, the staff's recommendation is to deny. Can you just kind of talk about
If,
the negativity of the potential of this business?
yes, ma'am. If you will put the vicinity map up then, you can see the staff recommendation was based on all of that yellow is residentially zoned property. And this, you have some C2 across both streets, but there is no C3 anywhere in the area, although there's some undeveloped industrial I2. And the staff recommendations were based on the fact that this was intruding into the neighborhood with a heavy commercial use that was not appropriate for the residential zoning that encircles this particular lot. That's why it was C2 previously, to ensure that nothing this impacted would be on that particular lot.
I would also like to bring to attention on this same particular street, West 70th Street in St. Vincent, we already have a Lucky Auto Sales. We have Shreveport Fire Department on St. Vincent as well. We have an AT&T office. We have Ferguson Heating and Cooling Company. We have Faith Church of God, Ferries Top and Trim Automotives is already on this strip. We have Fleming Landscaping and Irrigation. We have Cedar Hill Apartments. We have Shepherd and Sheep Ministry. We have Peaceful Rest Baptist Church on the same strip. So it's also commercial and residential mixed already. It's just on this particular end here, I own the whole block, and across from the adjacent to it is just raw land with no development at all.
And we're not here to argue with the applicant, Mrs. Newbert. I just shared with you why the staff made the recommendation that it made.
Was there a neighborhood meeting on this?
It was on May the 11th.
Can you tell me about that?
Let's see. So about 5 people showed up, mainly people from the church. We went over and we spoke about a couple different things, about an hour and a half, 2 hours. And we all came into the agreement that there was approving of seeing something brought to the neighborhood. So they didn't have anything against the car lot being there. Like I even spoke to people prior to having the meeting as well as yesterday about what's going to be at this location, and it was all for it. Because this property has been abandoned the last 20 years that I've been here, and we just been in possession of it the last 5 years. And the properties that's adjacent to it is 2 drug houses. No one's staying there, they're vacant. I've been trying to get property standards to board it up. If you don't do something with the property, it's gonna become a nuisance to the neighborhood along with everything else.
I do have a question, ma'am. You mentioned a neighborhood participation meeting.
Yes, sir.
You said that. Who sent out the invitation, and what kind, do you have anything written in response to share with us, the results of it?
Well, I have the sign-in sheet as well as the agenda that we went over. And this is the agenda that we had. But everything around that property is either abandoned or is not kept up at all.
Okay.
And if you check the police records, you can see a number of complaints. SWAT team have been in. It's been trap houses all around the property. Again, if there's nothing did to that property, it's gonna fall right back into the same situation that we currently have with the neighborhood, the upkeep. Because we're spending hundreds of dollars out of our pocket directly just to keep the maintenance up, that we're not even causing the problem. It's gonna just be a dump zone.
Board members, does anyone else have a question for this applicant?
And let me share with you, Mr. Chair, that
Please, go right
it's
ahead.
just been pointed out to me that you have access to the use matrix form in front of you, and your tab is there. And you can pull that up and look at all of the, unlike the previous application, this is a rezoning from C2 to C3. So all of the uses that would be allowed in C3 would be allowed at this location if this property is rezoned. And you can just look at all of those uses. That's why that use matrix is there for you. If you're having any problems, Emily Lynetta would be happy to help you
Up
find
at the
that.
top of your screen, it says use matrix, just click on it and it'll open up to the chart. Principal use. Just when I think I know how to operate this thing, Miss Emily adds a new twist to it. Thank
They
you.
keep me confused, Mr. Chair.
No. Perfect, thank you very much.
Emily?
All right, board members, any questions? Now that you've had a chance to.
I have one.
Yes, ma'am.
Of course I do.
Ms. Newbert?
This is for Mr. Clark. Mr. Clark, is there any other zoning besides C3 that this applicants need?
I'm gonna let Stephen answer that for you. He did the research.
Okay, Mr. Jean?
No, there is not, because of the adjacency to residential. There's not a pathway for a special use permit here. It would require rezoning for that specific use.
We are very supportive of business development, and we encourage taking blighted property and reusing the property for positive uses. There are just sometimes that the zoning class that is required for a particular use is not allowed, and there's no path to allow it to be allowed at a particular location.
I also did a site plan for special performance or special use. Is that the same thing?
Yes.
That has already been submitted for special use.
So you're saying that you made an application for a special use permit?
For C3.
For C3?
Correct.
Okay, okay, okay. This is just one of those unfortunate situations, Board, that every direction we look toward to try to present an alternative, there's something that prevents that alternative because of the close proximity to residents. As you know, the areas that we protect the most is the sanctity of residential subdivisions, where people live, where people look forward to having peace and serenity. So that's the problem that we're confronted with in this particular case.
All right, Board members, are there any further questions relative to this request?
The
Madam
house,
Clerk, go ahead.
I didn't mean to cut you off. The houses that adjacent to this property are abandoned houses that need to be demolished. They're not even up and running properties. They're not even livable as of right now. And across the street from us, across the street is an abandoned building itself that's not even being utilized. Everything around is abandoned that needs to be demolished.
Okay. What I'd like to do before I call on the board is to find out do you have any more comments you want to make?
No, sir.
Okay. Is there anyone else present who'd care to speak in favor of this request? Anyone else present who'd care to speak in favor of this request? Is there anyone present who'd care to speak in opposition to this request? All right, ma'am.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I'm Jeanette Gaston, 227 Naomi Street in Shreveport, Louisiana, 71106. I actually live about a half a block or a block up from this proposed rezoning area. I did get something in the mail a week after they were having the meeting at this address, so there was no way I could be there because it was a week late. And I also was at 2 p.m., which most people are at work at 2 p.m., so that was another reason why, had I even gotten a notice on time, I still would not be able to be there. She said something about the area is people throw or litter stuff. As far as I know, like I said, I live right up the street. I live in a cul-de-sac of brick homes, so we keep the neighborhood nice and neat. That particular area she is talking about, there's a couple of houses that are abandoned. This particular building she's talking about, that building itself was full of trash. It's always been full of trash. I'm considered to be the neighborhood police or whatever because I call on people about their properties when they're not up to par and that kind of thing. And I have called on this building before about not cutting their grass. So I've already noticed that, but the pollution she's talking about was inside of that building that they tore down. Now I am here today with a couple of my neighbors and we are opposed to this rezoning because we don't know what this will bring to our neighborhood. We're opposed to the rezoning to a B3. I don't know what that entails. And we also have a petition with some names of people who are also opposed to this, as well as, like I said, I have a couple of my neighbors here.
Before you leave the mic, are there any questions for this young lady, board members? Ms. Gaston.
You're in this cul-de-sac just next to the church?
That's correct.
Can you point to it on the map where the gentleman is sitting?
Let's see. It's in between. See, this is 80th Street and St. Vincent, which is what she's proposing, and you would be going in the opposite direction, maybe a half a block down, right below this 80th Street. Wait a minute, I'm sorry. Yeah, Naomi Street. Does it even show Naomi? Oh, here's Naomi Street, and there's Naomi Street right here. It is right off of St. Vincent, and I think she's right here. She's this red block, so that close. That's really close. And I also bike in the neighborhood, so that's another reason why I try to make sure we don't have everything coming to the neighborhood and the grass is cut in, say, certain areas and that kind of thing. And like I said, I don't know anything about a drug house. There are some abandoned houses. If it was a drug house, trust me, I would have already called people about it because that's what I do. So, like I said, I really don't want any issues coming to our neighborhood. We keep it clean and we're trying to keep it safe.
Ms. Gatson, thank you very much for coming forward. Any questions for Ms. Gatson before she takes her seat? Hearing none, is there anyone else present who care to speak in opposition to this request? You may please come speak now.
if I can get this out. I just want to say hello, and my name is Gloria Deason, and I live in the little circle, the little cul-de-sac or what have you. And I'm very opposed to rezoning. I like the neighborhood the way it is, with homes, people trying to find places to live, where there is peace. So we love where we live. I've been living in that neighborhood for 50 years. Peace. Thank you.
Ms. Gloria, before you leave, any questions for Ms. Gloria, board member? Thank you, ma'am. Hearing none, thank you. Is there anyone else present who care to speak in opposition to this request? Anyone else present who care to speak in opposition?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I'm Marvin T. Williams, 223 Naomi, 71106. My mother owned a house over there, and I do the upkeep at the house. And where we stay, there's a circle in the area, and the city's supposed to cut it, but I take care of it. And on the outside, coming into the neighborhood, the city's supposed to cut it too, and I take care of it. Because we want to keep the area nice, and we have my neighbor Jeanette and all the other older people that stays over there. We try to keep the area real nice. But that's all I want to say. We don't want nothing else coming over there to mess up the area, because people always put a name on Cedar Grove and said it's a bad area. It's not a bad area. We haven't had a robbery. I went to work one day, stayed going to work for 9 hours, left my door open, and came back, and my house was the same. So we're just trying to keep the area nice, and that's all I have to say. Thank you for your time.
All right, Mr. Williams, any questions for Mr. Williams, board members? Hearing none, thank you, sir. All right, Ms. Carpenter, is there anyone else present who care to speak in opposition? Come on, please.
Hi, my name is Lucy Smith. I stay at 622 Hendricks Place, Shreveport, 71106. I am a former resident of 205 Naomi, which is down the street, the cul-de-sac that they're referring to. I raised 4 boys over there, and we didn't have a problem. It was a well-kept neighborhood where I would just, and that was back when you had trucks that you could just load everybody up and take them down to the park, and that's what I used to do. But my question today is, how will this help our community? If you change that zoning and you allow something else other than this car dealership to come in there, and then is this part of the master plan for the city of Shreveport? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. Is there anyone else present who care to speak in opposition?
Good afternoon. My name is Ora Hart. I live at 6911 Bethany Street, Shreveport. I am the president of Cedar Grove Neighborhood Association. Our t-shirts say Cedar Grove by choice. When people think in terms of Cedar Grove, they think about people who are forced to live someplace that they don't want to be. But we could live any place else, but we've chosen Cedar Grove. Now, I was a part of that little neighborhood group that met with this young lady, and My concern is this spot zoning or does this rezone? That's my first question, because I don't understand. If the zoning is only for her spot and it won't change anything else, that's one thing. But if that zoning changes the zoning, then that's another thing. There is a travesty that has happened to Cedar Grove, and that is that people come in with their businesses and they leave vacant buildings, the building that she bought. I remember it when I was a girl, and that's been a long time ago. Pleasance was there. There was a little nightclub and a grocery store for years, and it started to go down. I'm disappointed to know that she has owned this building for 5 years, because it has been an eyesore for that 5 years. So I'm real disappointed in that. The other thing is I've been trying to reach her since we had that meeting, because I wanted her to come and share what she was trying to do to uplift the neighborhood by showing good faith and come and join in our neighborhood association. Come, let's talk. People talk about being good community partners, but you live over there, and the only way you can partner with the neighborhood is to be involved in the neighborhood. So for that reason, I'm saying no.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Is there anyone else present who care to speak in opposition?
Good afternoon. My name is Ronald Cothran. My address is 7720 Babylon Circle, Shreveport, 71106. I too stand here as a person that's opposed to this rezoning. As previously stated, I've heard two different opposing thoughts about this. First of all, from a C2 to a C3. After digging in and finding out what could happen with a C3, I was very concerned. And I did attend the initial meeting as well with the owner of this property. And at this particular time, after finding out what can happen as a result of a C3 changing the rezoning, I am strictly concerned about the residents in this area. I also represent the South Shreveport Voters League. And once again, I am opposed to this consideration for rezoning at this time.
All right, Mr. Cawthorn, any questions for this gentleman? All right, sir, thank you very much. Anyone else present who care to speak in opposition? Anyone else present who care to speak in opposition? Hearing none, the applicant has the opportunity to come back to the microphone to make any closing comments you care to make prior to the board's vote.
Well, my first concern is, since May 11th, I haven't had any contact with the people that showed up at the hearing before now. Ms. Hart stated that she tried to contact me, but I haven't heard anything from Ms. Hart or anyone else that attended the meeting, and I passed our business cards if they had any questions or concerns. Yes, we have had the building for 5 years. Again, we spend hundreds of dollars every month trying to keep this property clean. So yes, there's going to be debris and people are just going to continue to dump because we can't control it. No one's on the property 24 hours a day. That's why we're trying to do something positive with the location, and it will be a spot zoning. And with the spot zoning, we have once we go through the site planning, we'll be able to put a fence up to keep the property clean and bring the neighborhood up to a higher standards that it's currently at right now. They say they proud of the neighborhood, but every time I turn around and go from block to block, there's debris everywhere. So you can't just pick one property and not call in on the other properties and have them brought up to standards as well. 804 St. Vincent Street is completely clean, it's up to code. Prior to last year or the year before, yes, it was a building there, and there's a process you have to go through. You have to pull permits and everything for a demo. You have to have the funds to even do a demo. So even by us demolishing the building, it's not gonna stop people from trashing the location if you just had a property sitting there. So if you want your neighborhood to a higher standard, you have to be willing and have a vision to bring something new into the neighborhood. We have raw property adjacent to ours that's just been sitting there vacant. I'm sure they've been trying to do something to it, but as people keep contesting it, you're not gonna have nothing new to the neighborhood. And with today's society, you have to be open for new opportunities and new growth brought into the neighborhood, or you're gonna have the same thing. As of right now, City Grove does have a higher crime rate, and the number speaks for itself. But again, if you bring something new to the community, it might just change that and provide jobs for the area.
Ma'am, thank you so much. Any additional questions for the applicant? All right, thank you, ma'am, at this particular time.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
If you would allow me, just for the benefit of Mr. Robertson and Ms. Jackson, to give you just a little history on vehicular sales with outdoor display. The other board members will remember that initially vehicular sales with outdoor display was allowed in C4 and C4 only. And with an initiation by the MPC staff, we went to this board to ask for it to be allowed in C3 because it was allowed in B3 in Section 106, the ordinance previous to the Unified Development Code. When this got to the City Council, because of concerns by neighborhoods and City Council persons, this was remanded back to you. If you recall, one of the requirements in that remand was that there will be no auto sales with outdoor display within 200 feet of residentially zoned property in C3. It was very, they did not really want to allow auto sales with outdoor display in C3, but they finally, in a compromise, agreed to allow for that to happen in C3. And if it was within 200 feet of residence, it had to have a special use permit. So in this case, I think this was within 200 feet of residence. So this was not it is commendable. And I stress it is commendable. And I know a lot of the people that came up from the Cedar Grove neighborhood associations because I've been to meetings with them. It is commendable that this applicant wants to reinvest in the Cedar Grove area. It's just that auto sales with outside display is not a use that's appropriate for this particular location.
All right, I believe I see your hand up, Mr. Robinson.
Mr. Clark, can you share with the applicant, I believe her name is Ms. Cropbrew, what is possible with C2?
I'm the only one over here that don't have a use matrix.
I can't find it, so.
That's cost sacrifice, Mr. Clark.
Yeah, so if you'll allow me, Mr. Robinson, I'm going to ask Stephen to read it since I don't have it in front of me.
Now, this is an alphabetical list, and so I will start. It starts with agriculture, moves on to amusement, facility, indoor, animal care facility, animal shelter, automated teller machine. Let's see. Animal shelter operated by a public authority, an art gallery, an art studio, automated teller machine, which I've already mentioned, a special use permit for a bar, permitted body modification could be considered a tattoo establishment, broadcasting facility without an antenna, bus transfer station. Car wash requires a special use permit. Commercial facility for pop-up use, and that would only be allowing uses that are already allowed in that district. A community center, a community garden, I'm still only in the Cs. Cultural facility, daycare center, drive-through facility requires an administrative approval. Dwelling above the ground floor is allowed by right. Educational facility for primary and secondary is allowed. For university or college, it would require a special use permit. Same for a vocational school. A financial institution is permitted. Financial institution with a drive-through is permitted, which is a bank. Food truck or trailer vendor is permitted. Food truck park is a special use permit. A funeral home is a special use permit. A gas station is a special use permit. Government office is allowed. Healthcare institution, in other words, a hospital, is permitted. A hotel requires a special use permit. Live entertainment as an ancillary use requires a special use permit. Lodging and meeting hall is allowed. A medical dental office is allowed. An office is allowed. Outdoor dining is allowed. A parking lot as a principal use is a special use permit. Parking structure is a principal use is allowed. No, it's a special use permit, excuse me. Personal service establishment is allowed. Place of worship is allowed. Public park is allowed. Public safety facility is allowed. A reception facility that's for events and such is a special use permit. A restaurant is allowed. Retail goods establishments, which would be, most of your retail stores. Retail sales of beer and wine is permitted, but liquor would require a special use permit. Self-service vending machine is permitted. A self-storage facility with its climate control requires a special use permit. A shelter housing requires a special use permit. Social service center requires a special use permit. A soup kitchen is allowed. A soup kitchen accessory is allowed. Specialty food service like an ice cream store is allowed. A utility such as a utility station for electrical is a special use permit. Vehicle repair service minor is a special use permit. A wireless telecommunications tower is a special use permit. On an existing structure, it's allowed. If it's a stealth type facility, it's permitted. And telecommunications with this minor modifications is a special use permit.
Thank you, Mr. Jean. Mr. Chairman, I'm just trying to give the applicant a little bit of hope here because she seems to have the staff and some of her neighbors lined up against her. So there are quite a few uses that are permitted in the zoning that you have on the property now. So perhaps somewhere in there you can find something to redevelop the property.
All right, thank you very much. Any other comments? Mr. Jean, thank you for going through that entire list. It is accessible to us. It's called a matrix underneath those application series if you choose to refer to those at any other time. At this particular time, any other comments from board members relative to this application? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion, please.
Motion to deny.
We have a motion to deny. Ms. Newbert?
It's painful.
I have a second by Mr. Morton. All those in favor, please vote yes. Oppositions vote no. All right, the motion is carried. I would invite the applicant to spend some time with staff members in the very near future to take a look at what some other opportunities might be, and to be able to spend some time with the neighborhood association in talking about what would really be good for the neighborhood as they perceive it in the future. But thank you so much for your enthusiasm and motivation. At this particular time, we will call case number 21-53-C, zoning request, Lloyd Design Group.
Good afternoon, Jeff Rayleigh with Rayleigh & Associates Engineers, 4913 Shed Road, Bossier City, 71111. Here to represent the Lloyd Design Group. Mr. Lloyd had bought this property a couple of years ago, and he has his workshop there on that property, thinking the whole thing was commercial, and we were going to help him design and put a new garage to store his delivery trucks in. And so we were replatting the whole piece of property into one large lot, and discovered that a small piece in the southwest corner of his tract is still R1. So we're trying to bring it up to C1 with a larger portion of his tract, just to get it all in compliance as C1 to do what he wants to do on his property there. And I'll be glad to entertain any questions that you might have.
All right, board members, you've heard the request. I believe if you'll scroll down, you'll find a neighborhood participation plan report, and then other information as we take a look at what's in front of us here with this particular applicant. Do you have any questions for Mr. Rayleigh at this point? All right, Mr. Rayleigh, thank you very much. Is there anyone else present who care to speak in favor of this request? Anyone else present who care to speak in favor of this request?
My name is Kyle Lloyd, and I am the owner of the business at 6040 Fairfield Avenue, which is the Colony House of Flowers, operating our workroom there. We also have a retail establishment at Piermont Commons, 6505 Line Avenue, Suite 67, for our walk-in and retail business with our workroom at Fairfield. So we are looking to make our three-car garage on the rest of the property where the commercial property is already located. So I'm here just as representation as well. If you have questions, I'm happy to answer as well.
All right, any questions for Mr. Lloyd? You did say flowers, didn't you?
Yes, sir.
Very good. All right, hearing none, thank you very much. Anyone else present who care to speak in favor of this request? Anyone else present to speak in favor? Is there anyone present who care to speak in opposition to this request? Any opposition to this request? Please come forward.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My name is Marlena Watley Lewis. Thank you for inviting me to this meeting. I live in the back where I live on Willard. And my concern is rezoning. I'm not opposed of the flower shop. It's just the rezoning that I'm opposed of, because I don't know if it's gonna raise our taxes up. Now, I understand that Mr. Cowell has a flower shop on Line Avenue called the Colony House. Now, where he wants to put the warehouse, where he is now, it's a resident area. You have a church in front of it. You have residents next to him. You have residents on the opposite side of him, and you have residents across the streets from him. Now, my question is to Mr. Cowell is, what contribution will he bring to the neighborhood? We know that it is in the Cedar Grove area. We do have crime. We have blight, houses around. Grass need to be cut. But I submitted a draft to our governor, to the Justice Department, and I opposed to them the question that we have a crime area. It's crime going on in the area of Cedar Grove, and you know it's a lot need to be done. And also, it was a master plan for Cedar Grove that was implemented in 1933, and they have a master plan that they said that they was going to do something for the Cedar Grove area for, I believe it says 2030. But I told the governor, and I submitted to the Justice Department, we can't wait till 2030 because we need financial help for the Cedar Grove area. And, you know, it just, you know, if he's gonna have the flower shop there, and we have residents, we have children around the area, he wants to make, you know, it's traffic up and down there. So my question is, what will his contribution be to the neighborhood?
All right, ma'am. Any questions for Ms. Lewis? All right. Thank you, Ms. Lewis. Anyone else here who care to speak in opposition to this request? Anyone else present who care to speak in opposition to this request? Hearing none, Mr. Raley, if you would care to make any comments in the rebuttal form, either you or Mr. Lloyd.
Well, yes, sir. All we were trying to do was just bring the remainder of his property into compliance with the larger portion of his property, commercial. He's not planning any kind of a retail shop there. It's just a new garage to store all of his delivery trucks and vehicles. The existing workshop where he makes his arrangements and such will still remain in progress, and his employees will still be working there every day, 8 to 5, I guess, or 8 to 5. And if you have any questions for me or Mr. Lloyd, he'd be glad to answer any as well. So.
All right, Mr. Raley, any questions for Mr. Raley? Any board members? All right, hearing none, thank you very much, sir. At this particular time, any discussion from board members relative to this applicant? Hearing none, we'll entertain a motion, please.
I'll adopt staff recommendation.
Is there a motion to approve?
Please.
All right, we have a motion to approve by Mr. Robinson, a second by Mr. Elverson. All those in favor, please vote yes. Oppositions vote no. Motion's carried. Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Just before he leave, I've seen two people that were here when I first got here today, and it's so good to see them again, and that's Jeff Raley and Travis Stutterman. It's just, he looks a little gray around the chin, so it lets you know how long I've been around, but it was just so good to see them, because they were here when I first got here.
Yeah. All right, sir.
Been around a long time. Thank you.
Mr. Clark, I can't see over your shoulder, but is there a councilman still sitting to your far right? No?
Ms. Taylor.
I think that is, Mr. Chair. She periodically sneaks into your meetings.
Well, if she'll just wave her hand and we'll acknowledge your presence. Thank you so much for sitting in. It's not very often we get councilmen or commissioners just to share and listen to what's going on, but we thank you for your presence. At this particular time, we'll call for case number 21-59-C, zoning request, MBT Investment LLC.
Hi, I'm Kevin May with MBT Investments. My mailing address is 752 Dalzell, Shreveport, Louisiana, 71104. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
Would you care to tell us just a little bit about your application, please, sir?
We're petitioning to rezone the property at 213 Topeka from C2 to R3.
Okay. And in reference to developing for the purpose of?
We're planning to build duplexes there.
All right. All right. Any questions for Mr. May, board members?
Single story?
We haven't done any design work as of yet. We're in the preliminary stages of evaluating options. to replace the existing structure, which is in very, very poor condition, not salvageable. When we discovered through discussion with the MPC staff that the property was in fact zoned commercial, even though it's always had a residential use.
Is it single or multi?
Currently, there's a 2-story duplex there.
All right, sir. Any other questions? I do see a report from a neighborhood participation plan report and as a part of our documents today, and we thank you for making an attempt to do that. Any more questions for Mr. May? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone else present who care to speak in favor of this request? Anyone else present who care to speak in favor of this request? Anyone present who care to speak in opposition to this request? Any opposition to this request? Hearing none, seeing none, we'll call for a motion.
Motion to
approve.
accept.
Oh, go ahead, go ahead.
All right, motion by Ms. Jackson and second by Ms. Newberg.
Yes.
All those in favor, please vote yes. Oppositions, no. Motion is carried. We'll move on to item number 11. Case number 21-59-C, zoning request, MBT Investments. Is that the one I just read? Let's move on. I didn't, like that went off my list. Let's move to case number 21-60C, special use permit and site plan. Express Car Wash.
Hey guys, how are y'all?
Okay, how are you?
Doing well, thank you. Niall Watley, 722 North Ashley Ridge Loop, 71106. I'm representing the architect representing the buyer for the property and the concept. Express Car Wash is our client, and they're proposing a just a site plan. There you go, right there. I'll just tell you a little bit about the site. As you can see, here is the, there you go. We're proposing the car wash to be on the site adjacent or across the street from the Kroger fueling area. And it's a C2 PUD right now, and we need a special use permit to do the car wash there. And we did a neighborhood participation meeting, and we had 0 participation. However, I did write a very good letter, and in my letter I had links to our proposed project that anyone could go online to look at. So I was hoping that maybe that was some of the reason why they didn't show up. It was a good project. It's a high-end car wash, a lot of high-end finishes. Several in the city already, 3 in Shreveport, I think, 2 in Bossier, 3 in Bossier, about to have another one. I've done some in Monroe, West Monroe, Tyler, Texas. They're all successful, all on really good properties. Hence this one, this is a really good property. I also, in my letter to the neighborhoods, I did include a copy of the comment sheet, so that, and I encouraged them to, if they didn't want to come to the meeting, send me some comments via, our email or call us or whatever else, and still didn't receive any of that to this date, last check. So anyway, that's what we're here to get, special use if that's approvable.
All right, Mr. Watley, any questions from board members?
Did you have any negative feedback for this?
We had the commissioner, Atkins, was there, and he asked, we went through the presentation, really just for him, I guess, and he had some good commentary, but we have had no negative anything yet. No. Haven't had any encouragement either, but other than it's a great project. But now the YMCA, who's also going to try to plan a project in that area, is very supportive of the project, even though that they're going to be a little different, but on a separate piece of property just to the back side of this. But they were encouraging. They showed up, and like 4 or 5 of their staff, but no negative.
All right, any more questions from board members? Well, Mr. Watley, thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Is there
Thank you.
anyone else present who'd care to speak in favor of this request? Anyone else present to speak in favor? Anyone present who'd care to speak in opposition to this request? Any opposition to this request? Seeing none, thank you very much, sir. One thing's for sure, it'll be visible.
You will see it.
Yeah, you will be able to see it. Hearing no comments from board members, we'll call for a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Newbert, second by Mr. Morton. All those in favor, please vote yes. Oppositions, vote no. That motion carries. I will say this much, Mr. Watley, you're one of the few on that card who didn't have a whole gang of folks sitting out there wanting to have something to say, I promise you. So it's getting better. All right, we'll move on to the next case. Item number 13, case number 2164-C zoning request, Shreveport Cattle MPC. I believe Mr. Stephen Dean will be saying something about that.
Mr. Clark will.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Clark.
That's okay, Mr. Chair. You know what, I was told that the last time I was out, nobody even objected to anything. I need to leave more often, so you're telling me I don't need to present this case, and maybe it would be best not to.
Okay. The bus just passed by one time. As long as it don't back up, I'm all right.
This case, very briefly, was a 2064-C. Is the new zoning classification that we instituted as the MPC, because when the code changed from section 106 to Unified Development Code, this particular zoning class for residential development was omitted. And this is for lot sizes 10,000 square feet, minimum of 10,000 square feet. We came back in and this was in a case that was, you'll hear me refer to this again and again, in Lakeside, Long Lake on Lakeside, because the lots down there were actually 10,000 square feet or larger in the subdivisions, and the property was zoned R17, which required a minimum of 7,000 square feet. And the citizens were concerned that they invested in this property based on the fact that these lot sizes were the size that they were, and they did not want anyone to be able to come in and develop on smaller lots. In this case, over in the Curtis Lane area of the city, after I attended a neighborhood participation meeting, I could not find a staff member to go that day, and I attended myself. We found that the lots in this area are 1 to 2 acres, but minimum of like 15 to 25,000 square feet. And the property was zoned, and that's the imperfection of developing zoning codes. You don't always get it right the first time. Sometimes you have to revisit and make adjustments to reflect what's actually on the ground. You get away from the theoretic approach. It was zoned that way initially, but nobody actually went out and looked at this area. If they had looked at this area, the consultants I'm referring to, they would have noticed the size of the lots, and they would have made a different zoning recommendation. But that's what you have a staff for. Once we heard from the neighborhood, once we reviewed the actual site, and you can look up on the vicinity map, you can tell that those are all large lots. We recommended that we rezone this particular piece of property from R17 to R110 to reflect something close to what's actually in this particular area. And we ask that you recommend approval for this rezoning.
All right, sir. Board members, do you have any questions for the applicant?
And the MPC is the applicant, right?
That is correct.
Okay, because we got into this before and it was very confusing.
That's why I'm being very
Those
specific.
cases were probably the two longest cases in my history up here in a little over a year. Okay, so my question is, the MPC is the applicant.
Yes, ma'am.
Who owns this property?
The
Are they
owner of the
present
property will
here?
come up in the next case
Okay,
that's asking for the subdivision. The MPC was only recommending the rezoning of the property to reflect the zoning classification of properties appropriate for this particular area.
okay. Do we have any, oh, I'm sorry, that's your,
In the
that's
next
your job.
case.
That's your job, okay, sorry.
And remember, I learned my lesson when that bus ran over, okay, 3 months ago.
Yeah, no, I don't want the gavel.
Oh, all right, all right. Any more questions for the applicant from board members? Yes, sir.
Mr. Clark, what was the property zone prior to R17?
If I remember correctly, it was zone R1D, which would be 7,500 square foot lots. 7,200 square foot lots. And that's what I was sharing with you, Mr. Everson, is that if these consultants would have taken a survey of the property over there, they would not have just rubber stamped what had been in place. They would have actually determined, based on the size of the lots over there, that the R1D, the R17 were inappropriate, and would have recommended larger lot size districts. And that's why, based on the concerns from the residents over there, just like they were concerned out off of Ellerby Road, that these lots are much larger and the zoning class should reflect that, the MPC staff initiated this rezoning.
Okay, so there's no lot or lots in this parcel that we're looking at here that falls beneath
That is our
10,000.
understanding.
Well, the new zoning's for 10, so
10,000.
everything is above, 10 or above is what?
10 or above,
Okay.
minimum lot size of 10,000 square feet.
Any more questions from staff or board members for the applicant? Yes, sir, Mr. Robertson.
Mr. Clark, are we going to hear from the owners of the property on this issue?
Yes, sir, and if they are in opposition to this, they have a right to speak. As the chair asked for those in favor and those that are in opposition as part of the process.
But they're in the room, correct?
I think they are, yes, sir.
Okay.
I think you have to wait to allow
Yeah,
the
that's
chairman
right.
to go through the process.
That's what I was doing, Mr. Robertson.
I'm sorry, I'm jumping the gun.
I'm helping you out, sir.
Remember that bus, just remember the bus.
Bus driver.
That's correct. All right, board members, you've heard the request from the applicant at this particular time. Is there any other comments relative in favor of this application? Are there any is there any comments in opposition to this applicant? Please come forward and state your.
I think you
name.
needed to explain it better, Mr. Chair.
Let me help you a little bit on that. Those of you who are coming, the first person will be the principal spokesperson. They get 10 minutes. After that, each person gets 3 minutes.
Mr. Chair, I think you need to make sure that they understand that this is not the subdivision.
Correct. This is
This
not
is
the
just a
subdivision.
rezoning
This is just a rezoning.
to R110.
Are we speaking in opposition right now? Is that what's on the table?
And one more question for staff over there. The, going to R110 on these, just on these pieces that we're looking at here, the other property that you surveyed, they're larger lots, right?
Correct.
And why wouldn't you rezone the rest of those lots at this time to R110? You see, just because they're still R17.
That is correct, and we felt that once the property owners were aware of the larger zoning classification, if they were interested in rezoning them to that higher class, we would work with them to do that. This was just to ensure that this subdivision was compatible with the other lots that are incorrectly zoned.
Which ones are you talking about, Chris? I'm confused.
The ones that are on the application.
Okay.
And the ones surrounding it, really,
Okay.
they're all are.
I I'm looking at that one.
Now, those of you who are coming to the mic, just so you'll understand, there's two different applications, okay? All right, the one that's before us at this moment is a request by the applicant to zone the property R110, so that it's more in line with the other properties around this piece of property. Okay? That's where we are now. On the next case, when we come up, there'll be a discussion about the development of the property. That's where we are. There's two separate cases. At this particular time, would you still care to make any comments?
Yes, my name is Carolyn Fitzgerald. My address is 4412 South Fairway Drive, Shreveport, Louisiana, 71109. And I'm not sure I understand what's happening, but it sounds like the property has to be rezoned before the developer will be able to build the size houses on the size lots that he wants to. There are 9 acres in this plot, and the developer he wanted originally to build 34 houses. Then he changed, after talking to people in the neighborhood, to 21 houses. And now I see the recent information, he's at 27 houses. So I live in that neighborhood that would be directly adjacent to where he's gonna build. I've lived there for 34 years, and like the chairman said, most of the houses in that neighborhood sit on 1 acre, half an acre. They're huge lots. And that's a big part of the attraction for living in that neighborhood. So I feel that if the developer builds 21 houses on 9 acres, with my math, how big can the lots be? I would like to see something built there that's more commiserate with what's already there. So I sent a letter to the commission, and I said, if the developer was considering building 10 houses, or maybe 11, I would look more favorably on it, because that to me, that's comparable to the lots that are already there. So that's I know he has to rezone it before he can build on the size lots that he's described. And I'm opposed to the rezoning to do that.
Before you leave the mic, what you're saying is that you're opposing that the lots be a minimum 10,000 square feet as opposed to 7,000. That's where we are. I just wanted to make sure you understood.
Well, if he's going to build houses on the same size lots comparable to what's already there, why would he need to rezone it?
That's,
I still think, Mr. Chair, that our application from staff is the rezoning of the property from R17 to R110. Has nothing to do with what he's doing. That's the next case. This case is just that. So that's the only option you have is if you deny it, then you want the lots to remain smaller. If you support it, you want the lots to increase to the 10,000 square feet.
Which will still be smaller than the lots in the existing neighborhood.
okay. So Ms. Fitzgerald, I want to make sure we understand what you're saying. What you're saying is that to leave it at 7,000.
No, I want the lots to be larger.
I heard what you said, but I'm not sure if you understand what staff is recommending at this point on the property itself as far as zoning.
Well, I don't know any other way to describe how I feel about it. I guess my comments are not reflective of what's fixing to happen.
Correct. There you go.
So I'll just wait for the next case.
So, I would like I need to clarify where she's at. Okay,
I got where she is.
okay, I didn't. So,
Okay, go right ahead.
Ms. Fitzgerald, can you come back to the mic, please? Okay, so what's being proposed here is that there will be a minimum square footage on a lot of 10,000 feet under the new proposal. Right now, correct me if I'm wrong, staff, someone could come in and build on a 7,000 square foot lot right now.
That is correct. That's what we've been
So
trying
would
to
you
explain.
rather have it at 7,000 and allow a developer to come in and build on smaller lots? Or would you rather see it be approved at a 10,000 square foot lot?
I'd rather see it be approved at a 10,000 square lot.
Okay, I just want to make sure I
Something that's
understand.
larger.
Okay,
yes.
okay, thank you.
All right, is there anyone else who are in opposition to this recommendation that the lots be 10,000 square foot or larger? Please come forward.
And Mr. Chair, we have the city attorney here. I don't know if the applicant had more time to explain their opposition. And that time was used, and it was not used for the purpose to object to the proposal by staff. I don't know if you all want to just extend that additional time.
All right, I
appreciate that, Mr.
get where you're
Clark.
going. What I need from board members to motion to give the applicant 10 minutes.
So moved.
That would normally be afforded to the first person to speak. Can I get a second?
I'll second that.
All those in favor, please vote yes.
Aye.
All right, that motion carries. Please state your name and address for us, please.
Donnie Barker with Moore and Associates, 1324 North Hearn Avenue, Suite 301, Shreveport, Louisiana, 71107. I'm the civil engineer working for Mr. Frazier, who is the developer and property owner. And we are opposed to this zoning change. As Mr. Clark mentioned before, a 10,000 square foot layout came out of the neighborhood meeting that we had with the neighbors. And but also one of the comments that we got back from that neighborhood meeting was that we needed to research financially whether or not a 10,000 square foot layout was economically feasible on this property. And since that meeting and since our new layout that we've sent in, we've done that research. And the problem with the 10,000 square foot layout is that based on the median values of homes in this area, which we've done some real estate research, and we're determining that to be around $245,000 at $140 a square foot for new construction. That's only around a 1,600, 1,700 square foot home, and so we can't build a house that is comparable to some of the other houses in the neighborhood on a 10,000 square foot lot to be able to sell these lots for enough money to make this project economically feasible. So again, the existing zoning is R17, 7,000 square foot. Mr. Frazier will come up and speak again, but he's done everything he can on this development to try to make these lots larger, to make them more compatible with the neighborhood. I just don't believe that a 10,000 square foot lot or anything larger than that is going to be economically feasible for him to move forward. And just to clarify that an approval of this 10,000 square foot zoning is also basically a denial of our next application, because the layout that we're proposing for this development is now an 8,700 square foot lot layout. I'm here to answer any questions you may have. Mr. Barker, yes, sir.
Mr. Barker, any questions for Mr. Barker? He is the architect.
Yes, I have one.
Representing the owner.
Sure.
Okay, you said based on the economics.
Engineer. I'm sorry.
Sorry, Chris, did you?
No, he was reminded, it's engineer.
Okay. You said, it would put you around the 1,600 to 1,700 square foot home.
Somewhere in that ballpark.
What's in the neighborhood now? What is the,
The only information I have are the lot sizes, but those homes are significantly bigger than that.
1,000 square foot bigger, 500?
Yeah, 1,000 square foot bigger, I'd say.
So
Somewhere in
2,500
the
square
two
foot.
to 2,500 square foot.
Any other questions?
Well, I'm gonna suppose at some point we're gonna hear from somebody in the neighborhood that's gonna have a problem with that from an economic standpoint if they have a bigger home. I don't know. $140 a foot's a lot of, it's expensive to build.
Yeah, it's a new house, so
That
it's
equation is killing the city.
comparable to, older homes. It's tough to make it work.
So is it safe to say that this would decrease the value of the homes that's there?
I don't have any information on that, ma'am. I'm just, the homes that we would be providing, new homes, may not be square footage wise comparable, but they will be price wise comparable.
Before we skip to the home, let's remember now we're dealing with.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just as a comment, Mr. Andrews, I just, thinking about the integrity of the neighborhood and, when you go in and you see, on average, a 2,500 square foot home, you certainly don't want to look around and see something that's a smaller profile. I think if it's real close, it becomes an issue.
It's understandable, but from my developer's perspective, he purchases property as an R17 zoning. And, he's gone out of his way to try to make these lots bigger. Even though he might not necessarily need to make these lots bigger, he can make these lots, in fact, smaller and get more homes on this property. Based on the layout we submitted originally at 7,000 square feet. So we're trying as much as we can to, meet the neighbors' needs while also making this a feasible project.
I do have a question. I asked you about the square footage. What square footage are you proposing with the 8,700 square foot lot in terms of the home?
The 1,700 square foot, somewhere in that range. 245,000.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Questions from any other board members? All right, sir, thank you very much.
Thank you.
There's someone waiting to speak.
I'm a little hard of hearing, so if anybody can. But thank you. I'm Faye Cunningham. I live at 3030 Independence in Woodland Hills, which is adjacent to this property. And our whole neighborhood is a little bit puzzled as to what he's really going to do. We've had several discussions with each other, and of course we had a meeting. And at that meeting, we said that it would be the property, the houses would be around 235,000 to 250,000. Well, that would be fine, but I don't know, and I know now when you build a house, the price of the lumber is going up. But the size of the lots are not at all in our range. We have some nice houses in Woodland Hills. There are a lot of retired people. I've been there 48 years. It's a wonderful, quiet neighborhood. But with these little tiny houses, it seems as though they might be little doll houses compared to ours. And then, of course, across Curtis Lane, they have very nice houses in Country Club Hills. And it just seems as though there would be a great difference in the size of our houses and their houses, and it just would not fit into our farm. And then the rezoning is questionable. I'm not quite sure about what that is. But we had a lot of people that are they're actually we've been there so long, and a lot of people are retired, and we just don't want to lose our property values. And everything seems to be up in the air, confused. We don't know what's going to happen. But the neighborhood, we've got a beautiful neighborhood, and the value of the homes are much more than that. But we just can't just bow our heads and let this happen. We want houses competitive to our houses, the houses across the street, and there's other questions right now that I'm sure y'all are thinking about. But and then the flooding there. There's another problem there that we're thinking about. And the traffic. I understand the traffic they're not going to be able to go out of the, does this have anything to do with the zoning?
It has everything to do with the zoning.
Does this have anything to do with zoning?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, well, we can't drive out, they cannot drive out in that particular spot. They have to go back through our neighborhood, which is Revere, which is a very small street. I don't understand why they can leave the neighborhood there and not go from this particular Angel Oaks subdivision. That's something else. Curtis Lane is a very small street width-wise. Yes, sir.
Well, your 3 minutes are just about up.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
It's okay. Can you wrap it up? Your 3 minutes are up.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
It's okay. You were asking.
I guess I thought I had all afternoon. Okay, thank you very much for hearing us.
You were asking Mr. Clark a question, so that took up part of your time. Any closing comments?
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay.
Y'all have been very nice.
Thank you, Ms. Cunningham. Anybody else present who care to speak in opposition to this zoning change?
Good afternoon. My name is J.C. Frazier. My home address is at 6938 Oak Hill Circle here in Shreveport, 71106. I come as the owner of the property at 3414 Curtis Lane. When we purchased the property, 9 acres of land, it was our vision that we were going to be able to go in and divide that up into lots and build single-family homes for persons who may be first-time home buyers or maybe seniors who want to downsize. The intent was that we would be able to build nice homes in that area and would not adversely affect the kind of homes that are around it. If you look at the map there, the area Revere, Curtis Lane, and South Fairway, that's the general area of the property we're talking about. You will hear much discussion about homes that are outside the boundary, on the other side of Curtis Lane. Yes, those persons built those, bought those lots, built those homes 20, 30, 40 years ago. But that's not what is current now. And what we have asked to do is to come in and build homes that are the kind of homes that people are now building. We initially said 7,000 square foot lots. We asked some of the neighbors to come in and look at what we were proposing to do. As a result of that discussion, we went back and changed from 7,000 square foot lots to 10,000. We thought we could do that. But once we got the information from builders, and when we got additional information, the cost of infrastructure that was given to us by the city, when we got all the other information together, as a result of the neighborhood participation program, where the neighborhood participants came to the meeting, shared with us what their concerns were, we went back, did our homework, and came back and said, no, 10,000 square foot lots won't work. Not if we were going to try to build houses that people can buy. And so we came back now saying we understand that the neighborhood wants us to reduce the number of houses being built in the area. Initially, we talked about 34 houses. Now we're down to 26. Initially, we talked about having 7,000 square foot lots. Now we're down to 8,700. So what we've tried to do is reduce the number of houses and at the same time increase the size of the lots. We came up from 7,000, but 10,000, we can't make that and still make this program go. We understand that it is a nice neighborhood. We would not have tried to do anything in that neighborhood were it not. And we have talked to a number of persons there. When we had our participation meeting, those persons who signed up, if they gave us their email address, we sent them the report. If we didn't have that and we had their house numbers, then I actually took the report to them and put them in their mailbox. So we know that they are aware of the changes that are going on since the time of the meeting. I pray that you will be able to look at this in light of the fact that this is a growing community. Yes, Curtis Lane is a fairly narrow street. And yes, we have modified much of what we said we were going to try to do. We are no longer trying to come out on Angel Oaks and back onto Curtis. The city said, no, don't do that. Let the exit be on Revere. And I'm not really sure if you all see it the way we have it, but nevertheless, we made the changes that the city said make. We have been considerate of what the citizenry has asked for. And we ask you to help us by allowing this land to remain R7, which says the minimum would be 7,000 square feet. But what we have presented in our report to you is that the lots would then be 8,700 square feet, up from the 7,000, but at the same time, not at the 10. That's all I will have at this point.
Any questions before this gentleman?
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
You mentioned you moved there and you bought the property with the intent to develop it?
Yes, sir.
And you bought it under the impression that, or you bought it because it was zoned for this size lot?
Yes, sir.
How long have you owned the property?
Probably 2 years, 3 years. My realtor is here, so she's helping me out. We've owned it for 3 years. However, there's nothing has been done on it. We've had a lot of discussions about it, and of course, during this past year, with COVID and all of that, I talked to Mr. Jake Pallant, I think his name is. That was 2 years ago almost, when we first had our initial discussion about trying to do this. And by the way, let me just say, there's a lady who has been very helpful to us, Miss Emily. I don't know who she is, but nevertheless.
She's to your right.
Hi, Miss Emily. Okay. She has been very helpful to us in terms of giving us directions and how we ought to have things organized and like that. And I just wanted to express my appreciation to her for the help that she has given us.
One more thing, if you went to 10,000 square foot lots, how many would you end up with compared to your 8,700 right now?
Probably 21.
And you're getting 26?
Yes, sir. And the reason why we did that is so that we could reduce the cost. See, the 10,000 square foot lot, and according to what the builders are saying to us, because of the cost of construction now going up and all of that, to try to keep a house, let's say, for example, a $250,000 house, and then if we have to try to sell a lot for $30,000, then that means a house got to be $280,000. And so we start creeping up the bigger the lot is. So we try to bring it down a little bit so we can increase the number of houses and therefore have more reasonable price that we think both the banks and builders will be okay with.
Thanks.
Yes.
All right, board members, any more questions for Mr. Frazier? Mr. Robertson?
Mr. Frazier,
Yes, sir.
I appreciate you speaking clearly and loudly so we can hear you.
Yes, sir.
It appears you've purchased a fairly unique property in an established older neighborhood.
Yes, sir.
And this may be completely out of left field and inappropriate, but you're familiar with the term out of sight, out of mind?
Yes, sir.
Is there a scenario where you could build a subdivision on this property where the homes would be zero lot line, clustered in the center of the property, perhaps a townhome type development where you preserve all of the woods on the outside of the property, but in the inside of the property, you have density and you have smaller units. And really, the people in the neighborhood might not even know the development is there because you've got a lot of big trees that screen it from everyone else.
Sir, that issue came up early on, and we tell the community we are not building multifamily dwellings. We are not building low-income housing. We are not this is not going to be a place where we're going to have mobile homes parked. We're not doing that. What we're asking is the opportunity to build homes that people would be proud of. People who are building homes for the first time, we want them to be proud of what they have. People who are scaling down, yes, we understand that those houses, and by the way, some of the houses, if you were in that area, you would see there's a lot of improvement needed to be made on a number of those homes that we are talking about on these big lots. And we're saying what we want to do is bring in the kind of homes that's going to upgrade the community. I know, yes, there are nice homes. Yeah. And by the way, there are some 1,700 square foot homes over there too. Not all of those homes are 2,400 and 2,500 square feet homes. We researched that too.
Well, Mr. Frazier, maybe I was not making myself clear, but I wasn't contemplating an apartment building or a mobile home development, anything of the sort.
Right.
More like, and perhaps some of the other commissioners or staff can help me with this, and I apologize if this is a ground that's already been trod, okay? And I don't want to waste anyone's time here, but I'm kind of contemplating help me out, Chris, you know what I'm saying, don't you?
Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying, and I mean, it just seems like they're trying to maximize the value of the property, and I understand that, and I think to accomplish maybe what you're thinking about, it would still mess with that equation I asked about how many lots could you get at 10,000, and to change the and maybe if it was a 10,000 square foot minimum, you would have a different design alternative in there. But that's not what we're talking about on this case. It's just this case is do we want to try to fix what's been done with the master plan and the UDC that the staff explained, and I think there's some validity to that.
Well, I'm pretty clear on what the staff is contemplating here, expanding the lot sizes to 10,000 feet. I'm okay with that, but I'm trying to accommodate Mr. Frazier's desire to develop this property that he bought and still blend with the neighborhood and be a contribution to the neighborhood and not a detriment.
Yeah,
so
just because you go to 10,000 square foot lots doesn't automatically ensure you're going to have the type of house that the neighbors necessarily want to see even. So that doesn't automatically accomplish all the goals, but I think it could.
Paints them into a corner.
Yeah, it does that.
Well, it may kill the project.
Right.
In general,
right, but-
may just kill the project.
But I still don't think I'm making myself clear. I'm talking about a development that is where the homes are zero lot line, and they're right next to each other. They might be townhomes, or I don't know. There are other terms that real estate people use. I'm
Patio
not
home.
using the right terminology.
Mr. Chair.
But-
Yes, sir. May I just bring to y'all's attention that you're not in deliberation. You just asked a question. You turned into a full-fledged deliberatory circle going on. Just alerting you that you're. That's when you get into deliberation. Those are discussions that you have. You have an applicant up that you're supposedly asking questions, and you all are deliberating. Just for the record.
I appreciate that clarification. Board members, do you have any direct questions for the gentleman in front of us today, this afternoon? Any more questions? All right. Sir, thank you so much. Is there anyone else present who care to speak in favor of this? Thank you.
In favor or opposed?
I'm sorry, in opposition to it, to the zoning change.
I'm Deborah Lindsay. I'm the broker owner of Better Homes and Gardens Real Estate, and I'm at 333 Texas Street, Suite 1340. I am here to let you know just a couple of facts that might help you. First of all, a lot of the new construction that is near I-220 and on the west side of Shreveport, what you're going to find is lots that are between 6,800 and 9,500. And the homes that are selling, and if you look at the value of the homes that are around this particular development, a lot of these homes will only sell for $274,000 at the most right now. They have older homes, they are in larger lots, but they're not as the value of what we're looking at. In this development, we're looking at, you know, he's saying 250 to 280. That depends on the new construction cost. When we started this, we were looking just 2 months ago at $136 a square foot. Builders are now building homes at $175 a square foot. I'm saying that we're probably going to look at homes that are going to be valued at $280,000. $7,000 to $10,000 is not a huge difference. And if you look at the average neighborhood, and you're talking about houses stacked on top of each other, these won't even be that stacked. So what's happening here is going to improve the value of this neighborhood. If you haven't been down Curtis Lane, you may not be familiar with what it looks like. This used to be a big farm place. This is the place that Mr. Curtis, who was the executive SWEPCO years ago, this was his home place. It was then later the Dance family, and they had horses. The variances were given by zoning. You know, no changes were made. But right now, what we're doing is actually going to be of value to the city. It's going to bring property taxes. The prices are going to help elevate all the sales around here. Homes that were in the Curtis Lane area right now, a lot of those were sitting on the market for a long time. People weren't trying to move to that area. We're trying to promote something that where people are going to want to live there, move there. It has easy access to I-220, and I can't really see a whole lot of negative. You know, I feel like what Mr. Frazier's doing is a huge investment in the city, and most people might not even be willing to do that, but he is. So that's all I have to say. You have any questions?
Any questions for Ms. Lindsay? All right, thank you, ma'am. Anyone else who care to speak in opposition to this zoning be done at R110?
Yes, sir. Good afternoon. My name is Deborah Bradford Young. I live at 3021 Independence Avenue, 71109, which is right there where they're looking to do this subdivision. Unfortunately, I was not at the general meeting when they had it in the neighborhood, so I'm glad I have this opportunity. I am not one of those people who've lived there for 20, 30 years. I built my house in that neighborhood 13 years ago, and I love that neighborhood. It took me 4 years of looking, researching, going around, trying to see what would be the best viable place for me to build my permanent home. What I'm saying is, just like the Mr. Clark made a statement, which I admired, that he said, most important is to protect residential neighborhoods. I'm asking this board to protect our residential neighborhood. I am one of those people. I bought my lot. I sit on .9999 acres in that neighborhood. They're looking to put 4 houses on the one lot that I live on, where they're trying to build. We're just asking for this board to respectfully respect us as a neighborhood, that we decided that this is where we wanted to live. We want to protect what we have. I appreciate Ms. Laura for bringing it to the forefront of saying, what are they building that's going to help our property values? I don't think that they're going to help our property values. It should not be a burden on us, because they're looking to build on 9 acres. I sit on 1 acre. I know Ms. Cunningham sits on at least an acre or more. There are several, lots of houses that sit in that neighborhood on at least an acre. So we're just asking you to please protect what we have invested in. I worked all my life to build what I wanted to have at this point in my life. And I don't want them coming in, disrupting what I've worked so hard for. Granted, he bought a property, he had in mind what he wanted to do, But I don't want to sacrifice for him. He's asking us to sacrifice for what his dream of wanting to invest in and make his money on or whatever. We want to be respected too for what we've tried to do and accomplish out of the goals that we've tried to do. So that's what I'm asking this board. Please respectfully acknowledge what we've grown and what we've determined that how we want to live our lives and what we want in our neighborhood. We're just asking to be given that. He said he went around in the neighborhood putting things in the mailbox, but I didn't get anything in my mailbox. So I don't know what was given out in the mailbox. If he's got copies or whatever he gave out, I would really love to see it, have a copy of it. Did the board get a copy of it for the meeting of what he, gave us? I understand, sir, and I'm gonna put down, but that's what I'm asking.
Well, Ms.
That
Young,
we be given the respect that he's asking for.
Before you take your seat, does
Yes,
anyone have
sir.
any questions or comments for Ms. Young?
I do. Can you put up 2164C? Can you show me on this map where you live in relation to this proposed zoning change?
Well, this is Independence, and this is Curtis. I don't know how to do the lots, but I live probably in this area,
Okay.
right here.
Thank you.
Ms. Young, I just want to make sure you understand that we're talking about the zoning as opposed to what's being built there. And what the applicant on this particular case is asking for is to say that the lot size should be a minimum of 10,000 square foot. But you're saying don't make it a minimum of 10,000 square foot. You're going with a smaller size. Just want to make sure you understand at the time that you're standing at the mic now.
No, I'm not asking for it to go to a lower than 10,000.
That's what I wanted to make sure you understood, because that's where you're standing now, is you're advocating for that. And that's
Okay.
not what you meant, am I correct?
No, that's not what I meant.
All right, well,
No.
thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else care to speak in opposition to this request by the applicant? At this particular time, the applicant has a chance to do a rebuttal.
I'm the applicant, sir.
The applicant is MPC.
Thank Councilman.
He's got it.
You still want to
He's got it.
in opposition? Next case. Next case. I'm sorry, Mr. Chair.
That's quite all right.
The difficulty that we have as a staff in initiating rezonings is that we take into consideration everything that we hear. We look at how properties are laid and how they blend in and how neighborhoods are developing. And we attempt to come up with recommendations to you that reflect, as Mr. Epperson says, what is actually out there. This was, in our opinion, maybe incorrectly, but this was, in our opinion, a mistake that the consultants made when they were laying the zoning for this particular area. The only way you correct mistakes is come up with an alternative. And what we have tried to do is not try to come up with acre lots, not to try to come up with 2,500,000 square foot lots, not to come up with 12,000 square foot lots, which we could have, and there are some in that particular area. But we came up with a minimal lot size of 10,000 square feet that would come close in modern times, based on all of the things that have been said, that would come close in modern times to make these lots that's being added into this subdivision more compatible with what's actually out there. We still feel very strongly with our recommendation that the 10,000 square feet lots would be acceptable. It would not satisfy the citizens in the subdivision totally, but it would be acceptable that this, by creating this lot size, we have a go-between, if you would, that allows that the lots will be at least respectable in sizes that's compatible with the rest of the lots throughout that area. Yes, it's an old area. Yes, they should be extremely excited about new development coming into an old area. But what we heard from them was the same thing we've heard from other areas in the city, that these, we do not want 7,000 square foot lots when we have 10, 12, 25,000 square foot lots in our subdivision. And that is the reason that we recommended to you and initiated this rezoning to increase the lot size for this particular subdivision to 10,000 square feet. Thank you.
All right, sir. At this particular time, this opportunity for deliberation amongst board members.
I have something to say.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
know that
Ms. Newby.
surprises you. Mr. Elberson, I'm gonna bring you in on this, as conversation for the whole board. The landowner stated that he's had this property for 3 years, and when he purchased it, it was R17. The fairness in me, as a board member, says that he bought that property as a R17 and had a ambition to develop that with that given zoning. And so what we're proposing here today is to make a minimum square footage of 10,000 square feet, which is going to adversely impact his project from a financial standpoint. Can you, I mean, you're in this business, do you have any input on that? Because I mean, I'm really struggling with what the fair thing to do here is, because I also hear the other citizens that live in this neighborhood and their concern. And I understand where the staff is on this, so I see that point as well. This is a hard one, because when you buy something, generally you're the one that goes for the zoning change. The zoning came to him. And I just wonder, in my mind, you know, I have to lay down at night and sleep and know that I made the right decisions about things to be fair to people. I mean, you and I have talked about these things across the microphone in the past year. Do you have any input on that?
Now, you know, I think you've outlined all the points that I think are relevant, and I really don't have anything else to add. I understand where the MPC is coming from and the staff, and I understand the neighbor's point, and I understand the owner's point. I think we all are pretty clear on what the issues are, and I just think we have to vote on it one way or the other. So, you know, I don't want to really influence anyone's opinion, but those are the issues, and I agree with you. It's a tough case.
And I would also like to say, just as a board member, I know we have a lot of new people up here, and it is an individual choice. Sometimes you'll see us go all the way one way, and then you'll see us split on different things. This is a hard decision. Because I see more and more that things come to us to this board for decisions, and I worry a lot about what we're doing to business.
Well, yeah, and I worry about development too. I mean,
Yes.
we've talked about several cases today where people, I believe, really want to improve the neighborhood, and I understand both sides of it. And you know, we have deteriorating neighborhoods all over, and it's all of our desire is to help improve that the best way. And sometimes the code or the zoning is going to hamstring you one way or the other.
That's painful.
It's all of these today were kind of tough in a lot of ways, because we do want to see the neighborhoods improve. We want to see economic activity, and we want to see people's property values go up, and we don't want to see the code or the master plan hold that back. And so we just have to make the decision.
I guess the question that I'm when it comes down to it, what I'm kind of deliberating on is if changing this to an R110 really changes the outcome of where the citizens that live in that neighborhood are going to stand. That's one of the questions I have.
Well, that's a separate issue
Right,
from
it's
this one
it's
right now,
dynamic.
but you know, that, I'd mentioned, is that, you know, just because you make it a 10,000 square foot lot does not mean that there's going to be
That's
a
right.
mansion built on that home.
That's right.
On that house, so, you know, that, it doesn't necessarily, guarantee that, you
Mhm.
know.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate the input. I'm struggling with this.
Wish I could do it.
Yeah.
All right, Mr. Morton?
Just to clarify something for me, I'm not the smartest person in the world, but currently it's R17, which means he can build houses on 70,000 foot lots.
7,000.
7,000 foot lots. And that's what he can do now, without doing any change. He can build,
Correct.
what was it, 38 lots, 38 houses. 34 houses currently. And we're changing it, which is economically feasible for him. If we change it to R110, then he can't build 8,700 square foot. I mean, the smaller houses, he has to build on a 10,000 foot lot, which then becomes economically not feasible to do, if I'm understanding that correctly.
Well, and I don't know, and that's not necessarily what I don't know if you're talking.
No, I'm not directly to you, but I'm just trying to understand it for myself. I thought I understood it before, but now.
You want me to try to help you? I have it written down.
Well,
You want me to?
I understand the numbers, but I'm thinking, the neighborhood doesn't want him to build, the opposite doesn't want him to build on 7,000 foot lots. So we're increasing the lots, and he doesn't want to increase lots. That's what I just heard. Just making sure I'm understanding what's being said, because I've heard so much today. I live around the corner from Curtis Lane, I understand. I drive down Curtis Lane at least once a day.
So I think what he said is that right now with the zoning as a R17, and originally he had proposed 34 homes.
34 homes, yeah.
Okay, the staff wants to change the zoning to a 10,000 square foot lot, which will make him have to reduce the number of houses that's in the development to 26.
26.
Okay, I'm sorry, I said that wrong, to 21.
21.
So he would be building less houses on bigger lots if we change it to 10,000 square feet. That's what we're trying to do now, is figure out what size we want the lots to be.
Okay.
Minimum size.
Minimum size,
Minimum.
thank you.
Yeah, minimum size.
Okay.
Any other discussion?
It gets confusing.
Clear as mud now?
Yeah.
You know, the other.
It's a two-part inquiry, actually.
Yeah.
We're gonna move on to one, and then we have to decide on the.
That is
on
correct.
On the companion case.
That is correct. All right, at this particular time, if there's no further discussion, then we'll call for a motion.
For the reasons delineated by the staff in the materials that we've been provided and discussed, I would move, hold on, let me be sure I'm reading this properly. To warrant the zoning change from R17, I think, to R110.
We have a motion to approve the request by the Shreveport Cattle MPC staff.
Motion
we
to,
have a
re-
second?
motion to request.
We have a second? Is that a second?
Second, I'm sorry, yeah.
All right, we have a motion by Mr. Joseph and a second by Ms. Jackson. Don't feel bad, we'll get it.
Okay.
All those in favor, please vote yes. In opposition, vote no. All right, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 yes and 2 no. The motion passes. This particular time, we'll go to item number 14, case number 20-7-SC, preliminary and final plat. Applicant Moore and Associates.
Donnie Barker, Moore and Associates. I think with the approval of the zoning change, we would like to request a deferral on this application.
All right, the applicant is requesting a deferral and continuance on this application. Do I have a motion?
So ordered.
Would
yes,
you
motion.
are you interested
sorry,
in
I'm
why
sorry.
he's requesting
I'm
a
sorry.
deferral?
Let's back up.
Why?
Let's start over. You're requesting a motion to defer
Correct.
and continue. All right?
And all I was
Is-
asking, Mr. Chair, would you be interested? We would, because if you defer and continue, we have work to do. But we have to know what we have to do to address the reasons for the deferral and to continue.
Well, our application is for a minimum 8,700 square foot lot, so we would not meet the requirements of the R110 zoning. So we would request a deferral to give us time to revisit the layout of the subdivision and see if there are other possible options.
All right. How are we sitting now?
Yes, sir.
All right, then we'll entertain a second.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve. Motion by Ms. Newbert, second by Mr. Joseph. Please vote yes. Opposition, no. Mr. Barker, thank you. All right. Item number 15, case number 21-6-C, Code Text Amendment, Shreveport Caddo Metropolitan Planning Commission. I believe, Mr. Clark.
I'm going to ask Adam to speak.
All right, Mr. Bailey.
Thank you, Mr. Clark. Thank you, Board. This case, 2147-C, is for short-term rentals. They are proposed amendments that would update the existing transient vacation rentals. It would replace them with new language and a new use standard, actually a new article for short-term rentals. Over the past several months, we have had multiple public and open forums discussing this with stakeholders, property owners, citizens, Airbnb operators. Last Friday, or actually Friday, May 21st, we held a public forum here in the council chambers to discuss proposed amendments. Essentially what we would be doing is...
Lost a quorum, Mr. Chair.
I'm sorry.
We lose a quorum?
We've lost a quorum.
Yep, lost a quorum.
Mr. Bailey,
Oh, they'll be back.
if I get you to hold over just a second.
All right, quite all right.
Sure. Let me say this.
One came back. We have a quorum again.
Keep y'all on y'all's toes.
Well, just a second.
Quorum back.
Just hold on, since it's just us chickens, okay?
We do.
Yes. But I need everybody's attention. He's teaching. He thinks that we don't have a quorum, but.
You do have a quorum, Mr. Chair.
I'm trying to give Mr. Elverson a chance to finish with Ms. Jackson. We do have a quorum, Mr. Elverson. Ms. Jackson, we failed to do one thing. The ladies' room is right down around it. get the opportunity.
Okay.
And Ms. Newell would be glad to show you if we're at that point. If we're
Okay.
not at that point? Okay, very good. And we have a floor. Mr. Bailey, would you? please-
Currently, there are approximately 134, even though we're calling them short-term rentals, I'll refer to them right now through this conversation as Airbnbs operating in Caddo Parish. What we're proposing right now is for the Shreveport Unified Development Code. This is not for the Caddo Parish Unified Development Code. Of those 134-ish Airbnbs operating, approximately 118 are in the city of Shreveport. At this time, what we're proposing is that moving forward, that anybody who wants to operate an Airbnb receive a short-term rental permit, and we're offering two types. One type is a type A, which means if you're wanting to operate a portion of your room or rooms out of your home, or let's say an accessory dwelling unit like a garage apartment, that would be a type A, that would be approved administratively. The type B is if you wanted to rent out your entire unit. So if you wanted to leave for an extended amount of time and rent out your house as a short-term rental, or if, let's say, you had a second home on Cross Lake, Caddo Lake, well, I don't think Shreveport's in Caddo Lake. So Cross Lake, you wanted to rent that out, that too would be a type B. You would, and there's two types of type B, type B1 and type B2. The type B2 is up to 10 guests. A type B is 10 or 11 or more, or if you're wanting to locate within 500 feet of another Airbnb. No commercial meetings or anything like that could take place in any type of operations of a short-term rental. What would we do with the existing? They would have 180 days to come into compliance. Their application would be reviewed administratively at the cost of what we're proposing is $100. Type A, the fee we're proposing is $150. Type B is $250. And again, those renewals will take place every 2 years. That's a quick summary. Do you have any questions?
Yes, sir. Tell us a little bit about the meeting that you had for open forum.
So we had 4 open forums starting in February, or yes, one in February, one in March, one in April. On May 21st, we held one right here in council chambers. Mr. Clark attended it, as well as Reggie, a number of other members of the city, meaning the revenue office, actually also with the parish's tax office attended as well, answered a number of questions. There's approximately 25 people in attendance that attended.
Well, thank you very much. Any questions for Mr. Bailey? I don't normally get calls from citizenry, but I did get a call about some kind of meeting about Airbnb, and I said, well, there are several forums. You haven't missed all of them. There is one at here, and I hope that that particular person was here. I think it is important that we move towards making sure that we can put together guidelines that will be compatible to, I don't want to say New Orleans, but New Orleans, Baton Rouge, and some of the other major cities that are doing this.
Currently, there is guidelines in the Shreveport UDC. However, those guidelines don't take you anywhere. Right now, it calls them transient vacation rentals, and it would be an exception, special exception use that would go in front of the ZBA. However, the use standards call for the application to be submitted to the Director of Finance. There's no such application at that level. So we're trying to clean that up, as well as come into compliance more with best standards throughout the nation. I mean, we didn't just, decide upon these regulations just out of circumstance. We actually did a lot of research through those open forums, looked at dozens of cities across the U.S., inquired with, people, city personnel, and as far as we know, what we're proposing is very favorable.
Any questions?
If I may, Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir.
It'll be real brief. I noticed everybody looked at me like, don't say much, it's time to go. I just wanted to share with you that the staff, the community planning staff did an incredible job. They are my research staff. Whenever there's a need to do in-depth research and do United States-wide, countrywide research, these are the guys that perform that service. And every Monday morning, they updated me on their findings as far as what they had conclusions they'd come to with short-term rentals. I think that they came up with a very excellent ordinance that was not too restrictive, that was not, and I listened to the comments of the open forum that was held a couple of weeks ago, and the comments that they made in the open forum, those comments were indoctrinated into the final draft for the short-term rental ordinance. So this is a result of a whole lot of collaboration, not just planners coming up with ideas, but input from citizens throughout the city of Shreveport. I'm quiet.
I have a question,
Yes.
I promise, the only one. Is there any kind of inspection that occurs as part of this application fee, or is that just,
What we're proposing is just more of a site plan inspection, similar to what a home-based business would inquire for a certificate of occupancy. We will not be going into the home. They are required to meet certain building code standards. So if something were to happen, there could be some type of inspection at that level due to a complaint, but from a mere application standpoint to receive their permit, it would only be a site inspection to make sure that parking was attainable, as well as that there was nothing that would prevent clear egress and ingress out of the home in which they're trying to provide Airbnb service. But actually going inside the home, no ma'am. Now, again, the standards are there, but we don't have the authority to go into the home. The fire department doesn't have the authority to go into the home.
All right. The wildlife agent can do it.
right, well, I know I use these services, and I've actually had reservations that they canceled because the place that I booked did not meet their.
Right.
They're very strict.
Now, so I'm just generically calling it Airbnb. There are over 60 platforms. There's Vrbo, there's Flipkey, there's Homestay. There's a lot out there. I mean, there's ones that specialize just for you going somewhere to find pet, or, that pets are allowed. There's some that, emphasize family friendly, so you can take kids. But just for the general purposes, I'm just calling it Airbnb for this conversation.
Any more questions? Well, Mr. Bailey, if you'll maintain your position where you are.
MPC staff recommends you approve and send to City Council.
Gotcha. Any more questions for Mr. Bailey on this particular case? Then we'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve. Second.
All right, motion by Mr. Joseph and second by.
Real briefly, you all heard this case last month. This was the discussion between the city engineer, the executive director of the MPC, the director of public works, and the director of water and sewage. At that time, we were far apart. During the month that you allowed for the deferral and continue, we have become close together. We actually agreed. Patrick Furlong was here. I'm sure that the meeting just lasted a little too long, and he had to attend some other functions as city engineer. But at this point, we are recommending that you approve the recommendations from the city engineer with minor additional revisions that he submitted to Adam Bailey.
Could you say that again? You're recommending what?
We're recommending approval.
Okay.
We all agree. I'll just share with you, I didn't want to prolong the process, but we will be meeting every week to talk about how the Code of Ordinances for the City of Shreveport interfaces with the Unified Development Code, and making sure that where needed, Unified Development issues from other general codes in the Code of Ordinances will be placed into the Unified Development Code. We've also talked about the possibility of the city hiring a consultant to come back in and take care of that work. We may do this work with our staffs that we have in place right now.
All right, sir.
So with that, we recommend that you approve.
You heard the recommendation?
On all of them?
Yes.
Because 13 has an exception.
What?
It says the staff does not support this amendment as proposed by the city engineer. Amendment 13?
This must not be the updated,
Yeah, we're looking at page 6 of 13.
Do you see it?
It's got them all there. If approved, Articles 4, 6, 8, 11, 12, 13, 16, 17, 20, 21, and 22.
Because, I mean, I'm just looking here.
I
13.
see the same one you see.
I see, I know.
Where is it?
We're on 6 of 13.
which number are you looking at, Ms.?
He has
Newbert, so we
13
can-
in there, but 13
Yeah,
has
Yeah,
an
I'm just
exception.
saying
Respond
that,
to
looking
your-
up above it, at number 13, it says that the staff doesn't recommend it.
And I'm sharing with you on behalf of, as the executive director of the staff, we do recommend.
Okay, I just want to make sure, because that's not what it
I
says.
I have that authority.
Okay.
The limited
I believe
authority
you.
that I have, that's one of the things
I believe you.
that I can do.
I would entertain a motion at this time.
So moved.
Mr. Joseph, do I have a second?
Second.
Ms. Newbert?
Yes.
All those in favor, please vote yes.
Thank y'all for your hard work, Al.
All right, that motion carries. At this time, we'll move down the list of items under old business. I don't believe there are any committee reports because I've not requested any, but I do want to thank Ms. Emily for sending out to board members the names of the various committees and their makeup. And thank you for agreeing to serve. However, because we've been operating rather smoothly, and I want to knock on wood with that, we've not had to call committee meetings for basic reasons of questions and answers. So thank you very much. But as we go down the road, anything is subject to change. Under new business, as far as research is concerned, I believe we had a research report from Mr. Bailey.
We had a research from Mr. Jean, but I think
I'm coming to that one. Well, okay, go ahead.
I think he's provided you with a copy of the updated report regarding what we have done. We had hoped that we could present it to you and discuss it, but in light of the time, we hope that you will read it. And if you have any questions, we can discuss it at next month's meeting.
If you guys will look at the staple thing in front of you, the documents, if you remember last month, I asked for an update on the kinds of projects that we had approved in the past.
Right.
That's what this is, and I want to thank Mr. Jean for putting that together. Because as you ride around the city, some of the things that we approved and talked about and blessed are in progress or being done. There's some vacant spaces that have been cleared, and they're getting ready to start working on those. And then there's some projects that are all underway and or completed. For an example, there's a car wash on Pines Road that looks just like this one that this gentleman's talking about down to be right in front of my supermarket, but that's another story. The last thing I had on my agenda was Mr. Reggie. Would you care to share with us what your team has been working on in a summation form, please?
Oh yeah, well I'll be real quick. I'm gonna just give y'all an update on the amount of COs for the Mr. Robertson and Ms. Jackson, correct?
That's correct.
COs are certificates of occupancy that's issued in order to operate a business. You should acquire a certificate of occupancy to occupy that space. Okay. So in 2020, oh no, not in 2021, but from the last meeting, May 1st up until today, we've issued 10 new certificate of occupancy for commercial businesses, 14 for home-based businesses, and 0 temporary, and that's in the city. In the parish, that same date, we've issued 0 commercial, 1 home-based, and 0 temporary. Year to date, that's from January 1st up until today, we have issued 160 commercial COs, 215 home-based COs, 5 temporary COs that's in the city. In the parish, it's been 2 commercial, 12 home-based, and 0 temporary. Now, just to give you reference, in the same amount of time last year, which the pandemic started in March, April, we have done, last year, this same time, we did 193 commercial compared to 160 this year. And just like the trend have showed all of 2020, we've done 128 home base last year, but we've done 215 home base in the same time period this year. And we've done 5 this year, temporary, we've done 16 total at the same time period for last year. In the parish, we had only done 1 commercial and 4 home base, same time period, 2020.
All right, any questions for Mr. Reginald? All right. At this particular time, any other board members with comments? Any comments from staff? Mr. Joseph, it's your turn.
I think,
Did I hear somebody say something?
I just had one last comment.
Yes, sir.
And some of you may know, I found the information out yesterday, but Stephen reminded me today. Some of you may have known Charles Grubb. I might know Charles Grubb. He was city attorney for a while. He was parish attorney for a while. He's in private practice now, and he's the city attorney for the town of Greenwood. So he's been constantly going down. But that's I'm from Greenwood. So, but a couple of days ago, Mr. Grubb's son was in an accident, and he was killed in that accident. We just asked, because Charles has been very special to us as a staff, we just asked for your prayers for the Grubb family as they go through this very difficult process. And I know that some of us understand the hurt that he's having to bury his son. And we just hope that, we can, with our prayers, help strengthen him through this very difficult process. I just wanted to share that with you in case that you may have known Mr. Grubb.
My son's getting ready to start driving.
All right. Anything else? Anyone else? Mr. Joseph?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Meeting's adjourned.